Gentlemen, it is now 4:30, so welcome to our ordinary meeting for the 26th of June 2024. May I firstly acknowledge the traditional owners of land we meet on today. I humbly pay my respects to the people of the Wiradjuri and Ngunnawal nations, their past, present and emerging elders. If you are asked to evacuate, the emergency procedure is to exit the door leading out of the building directly onto outside the council chambers and proceed to the footpath opposite the council chambers and await further instructions. This council meeting is being streamed live, recorded and published in accordance with council's live streaming in council meetings policy. To those present in the gallery today, by attending a public meeting of the council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Anyone who is invited to speak will be recorded and their voice, image and comments will form part of the live stream and recording. The chair and or the general manager have the discretion and authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of live streaming. Such direction will only be given in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behaviour and comments. Okay, next on the agenda is public forum. I'll invite speakers to come to the podium. Each speaker has 5 minutes and I will give you a warning call out at 4 minutes. And tonight we're going in order of agenda, and the first is Mr. John Byrne, speaking about item 12.5, endorsement of the Hilltops Council's 2024-25 operational plan, budget, revenue policy, fees and charges after public exhibition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, before the time starts, I'd like to thank the past and present councillors for doing something that I'm at present not prepared to do. And there's something else in there that's not what I'm speaking about, but I believe that an increase in remuneration is, it should be, plus the Mayor, it's a full-time job, so the Mayor should be. But perhaps, speaking of remuneration and rate rise at the same time, is a little bit more appropriate. Maybe at the next meeting afterwards, I presume you all are going to re-enlist, I hope so, to continue the council. So if I may start now, Madam Mayor. Councillors would have noted on the 900 plus pages supplied to you back on the QVR showing that you're given the least possible time to study. You would have noted now there's another deficit of millions of dollars. So you, the councillors, are going to have to start questioning the ongoing financial strategy is working and where's the future plan to get out of this mess, which is the future we're talking about. October the 21. The GM told council the continued $1 million annual deficits are unsustainable. This report says we haven't really, what's changed. The same report says immediate freeze on staff and staff reduction of 30%. I don't know what the numbers are now. They don't seem to have changed a great deal. Same review contractors' cost. We just lost $300,000 on one road. Now, if you look at the incoming revenue and the employee costs, they basically cancel each other out. And any given state government funding is usually tied to a specific project, and no guarantees that this project outcome will remain on target. Now, that QBR placed before you was full of mathematical errors. Now, if any of you think that the administrators are not coming, you better have another think. And when they do come, and the impost, this is the future, and when they do come, and the impost on the ratepayers are doubled, if not tripled, who will ratepayers blame? Council staff, who apparently are mathematically challenged and most probably have moved on, or you, the individual councillors? I'm not telling you to doubt the information the council staff give you, but don't take what you're given as gospel. Use your brains and question some of the things you place before you, especially in that QBR. The only stupid question any councillor can ask is the one you don't ask. And you want the answers from the engineer per se, so I don't mean you, in layman's terms, so you can go back to your constituents and tell them in layman's terms what the problem is. There's no point the engineer giving you a complicated answer, which he knows, if you don't understand it. You can't explain that to the next one. Now, in case you think it's just a meandering, whinging old fart, please understand that I, my wife and my family, we pay a fairly big, I don't know about the biggest, we're one of the largest ratepayers in Hilltops. We have 2 farms and 5 house properties. Now, on those farms, we get 0, zip, nil, none council service on any farm, but we still have to fork out for council. And in addition, you think I'm just a rambling old fart. I actually do have a finance degree. Back in the old days in the old ESNA Bank, if anyone remembers that, and was considered a bit of a guru on balance sheets back in those days. And those balance sheets you have, they don't balance. Bookkeeping is simple. It's a simple procedure. Every credit must have a debit, every debit must have a credit. It can't go wrong. Any bank manager would insist the council get money in quicker and cut spending. Now, for the future, there are 44 vacant shops in Young, Harden and Bora at this time. Now, increased rates, increased costs, increased imposts mean increased rents, means increased vacancies, means decreased jobs.
John, 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, I'll just finish off if I can. The additional cost embedded by the administrator and all the ratepayer tenants. All I want to hear from, not from the council staff, is from you guys. And all I want to hear from you is mea culpa, maxima culpa. Now, Jeremiah, if you go a bit of religion into it, the 5.1 translates to none so blind as those that all that see and none so deaf that will not hear. And Madam Mayor, it appears I've lost the attention span of a couple of councillors, so I'll leave a little bit more Latin. You may have to translate it. Dominus Vobiscum. I'll give that to Mr. Flannery. I think only God can help this council. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Welcome, councillor. All right. I would like to invite now Mr. Caleb Jackson, speaking for the motion item 12.12, planning proposal and voluntary planning agreement for 220 Telegraph Road, Young, and request gateway determination. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Good afternoon, councillors and community members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to our application to rezone 2 to 20 Telegraph Road. We're here before you tonight, the second generation of a family-owned and operated business, which has called Young home for over 20 years. A strong work ethic, commitment to quality and innovation has seen us become one of Australia's leading fabricators of architectural steelwork for the building industry across the eastern seaboard. We've built a business that we believe Young can be proud of, a business that will, by the end of this year, provide employment and training opportunities for 70 people. Our application to rezone 2 to 20 Telegraph Road underpins our vision for a staged expansion of our facility, which will boost our production capacity and deliver even more jobs and economic benefit to the Hilltops region. We've been working towards this point for over 5 years. During this time, we have invested considerable time, energy and funds to develop a robust, thoroughly considered proposal that is backed by detailed investigations and reports into various factors of our proposed development, including environmental, cultural, heritage, urban design and others. A voluntary planning agreement, which is known as a VPA, to complete the upgrade works to Telegraph Road and the intersection with Maringo Road, which is substantial. Supported by, and probably most importantly, the application is supported by New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment gateway determination process, as you would know. We remain firm in our belief that a move to upgrade and expand our production facility on Telegraph Road is still the best course of action, not just for our business and our ongoing ability to meet the demands of our Australian-made steel products, but for the Hilltops region. It is a benefit for the Hilltops region, and the flow-on benefits the continued expansion of our regional-based business will have in terms of local jobs and investment. Also wish to take this opportunity to reinforce our commitment to responsible and sustainable operations, and our commitment to our community. We have heard the concerns from our neighbours with respect to noise and amenity. This has been the driving force behind our development of a staged expansion approach and building design which improves and enhances the amenity of our existing operation, with our overarching objective to create an outstanding architecturally designed complex on the eastern gateway to Young. The initial stages of our planning expansion include the construction of a new purpose-built loading and storage facility. This will mean our operations, including the loading and unloading of our truck fleet and forklift movements, will be fully contained. This will act to further mitigate noise and amenity issues which remain a concern for some residents, even though our current operations do comply with noise regulations. If and when we get the green light from Council and or the state government in the next stages of the gateway determination process, we will engage with local residents and stakeholders regarding the development of our site. This will include providing proactive updates to residents before and during construction. We will also seek to anticipate and address any potential issues and impacts associated with our construction activities to ensure we do everything in our power to minimise disruption to those living near our operation. This is in addition to our commitment to environmental responsibility in our day-to-day operations, evidenced in our recent attainment of the highest level of certification in the Steel Sustainability Australia program. In closing, I urge you to support this rezoning 2 to 20 Telegraph Road, confident that Apollo Fabrication Group, that is us, is genuine in its commitment to a strong and diverse Hilltops economy, a thriving local and Australian manufacturing sector, local employment and training opportunities, and responsible and sustainable operation of our business. Thanks very much.
Questions for the Speaker?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Cal, and congratulations on the achievements of your organisation and working alongside and with Council in regards to this rezoning proposal. And there's been a lot of work and a lot of hours go in, and I understand that, and that's much appreciated by everyone. And your attempts to be compliant with conditions that are there, and it's my understanding that to that point, your operation has bought a parcel of land in the industrial area, so that it enables you to be more compliant with the trucks and trailers being parked off the road.
That is correct. That's right.
That's great. Can you also confirm for me then that that site has now been shut down by Council staff because there was no DA lodged to do any work on it, and Council are now working on what penalty might be applied to your organisation? Is that correct or just a rumour?
So you're saying we're working on that site?
There was considerable earthworks done on the site without a DA, and the site has been shut down by Council staff.
There's a DA in Council now.
That's not my question that I asked you, but I appreciate a DA being in there now. The site was shut down because the earthworks were done before a DA was lodged with Council.
I'm not sure that the purpose of buying the land, and we can invest considerable money into that. Was it so that we could mitigate the conditions on the existing site?
And I congratulate you for that.
Well, thank you very much.
Then why did you?
Okay.
Why didn't you lodge a DA before you started work like every other developer has?
Well, when you say earthworks, do you understand the extent of the earthworks?
I do.
Thank you.
Not to the extent that I do.
Councillor Ingram, ask a question,
Any
and an answer has been given, and that is fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. I will ask the next speaker for the motion, and that's Mr. Nathan Jackson. If you'd like to come up. Once again, you have 5 minutes.
It's okay. I'd just like to start by offering my condolences to the family of Councillor Armstrong and acknowledge the commitment and service of his over the last 40 years to this Hilltops region. Good evening, and once again, thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors, and the community members for the opportunity to speak to our application to rezone 2 to 20 Telegraph Road. As Caleb has outlined, our rezoning application underpins our proposed stage expansion to our facility. At the heart of our plans is our commitment to continue to build a strong business and contribute to Young's economic well-being now and into the future, and live the values that underpin the way we work. That is trust, passion, together, and prosperity. Over the last 4 years, with the support of the grants from the New South Wales Government's Regional Jobs Creation Fund, we have created more than 40 additional jobs. A training opportunities program, including apprentices that enable school leavers like Max Jones, Dominic Grocott, Braden Hucker, and Riley Pullen to learn their trade and pursue their career goals, all while staying in the Hilltops region. I'd also like to mention RENS and NAR for their commitment in being here today, and how they've made Hilltops their home. This underlines the importance of backing businesses like ours, which are helping to build new skill sets and career pathways in our traditionally agricultural-based region. It is safe to say that we've achieved a lot in the 25 years since our family put down its roots in Young and our family purchased an existing run-down steel fabrication premises on Telegraph Road. We've since sought to enhance the facility through thoughtful design. Our year-on-year growth has seen us develop big capabilities and invest in high-tech steel fabrication equipment that enables us to tackle large-scale projects across New South Wales, leveraging our prime location adjacent to the Hume Highway. This has included landmark projects like Australian War Memorial Anzac Hall upgrade in Canberra, the Andrew Boyd Charlton Aquatic Centre, and Barangaroo Point Pavilion in Sydney, as well as some regional health projects like Wagga, Dubbo, and Wyong. All of this has been achieved from our production facility here in Young, which we've progressively upgraded within the bounds of our existing land use conditions and temporary use approvals. This has included our recent construction of the new administration building and workshop, which are now nearing completion. We're excited about the future and our plans to expand our facility, which cements our commitment to the Hilltops region and our almost 70 strong and growing workforce who live, work and form part of the fabric of this community. As Caleb mentioned before, the rezoning of 2 to 20 Telegraph Road and proposed stage expansion of our operations includes the development of the facilities which aims to further enhance the amenities of our operation. Our ultimate goal is to house the key facets of our operation in purpose-built facilities designed in consultation with top-level acoustic engineers to mitigate, abate and contain noise. Our planned expansion will also see a significant investment in local infrastructure through the VPA that is also being tabled tonight. Specifically, this involves upgrade works to Telegraph Road and the intersection with Moringo Road to increase road safety. Thank you for your time and attention this evening. Together, I believe we can continue to forge a brighter and more resilient future for Young as a regional base for the manufacturing of world-class Australian-made products. Thank you.
And thank you, Nathan. I'd like now to call Miss Nicola Short, if you'd like to come up. And present your arguments.
Good afternoon, councillors. As per previous council meetings and emails, I have advised that I grew up directly opposite the location before it was Apollo on my parents' property. My parents still reside there, as do a large amount of the original residents. I could stand here and rattle off a lot of issues I have identified, including noise and disruption, as you would have noted in my emails. However, 5 minutes is just not long enough. This land was zoned rural residential and, as far as I am aware, was never meant to become industrial. There have been numerous business owners who have attempted to obtain this land over the years, but were turned away as it was not industrial. These business owners have had to do the right thing and jump through a million hoops to be in the locations they are today. Other business owners who support the community have also had to be compliant and wait patiently while their applications were processed with rules and regulations which imposed or hindered their progress. Apollo does not follow the rules, never have, and never will. If you pass this, why should anyone else in town abide by these so-called rules? Rumour has it the trusses for Apollo's proposal are already built and ready to go. So why are we even here?
Thank you. Thank you, Nicola. Next speaker, Mr. Stephen Short. Hence motion on the same item. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors. Thanks for your time. 38 years I've been a landholder out in the area, out the showground area. And for 12 of it, I've complained about the noise that comes out of Apollo. 12 years ago, they had 28 days to comply and put an acoustic sound barrier on the shot blaster. 12 years later, every afternoon I drive home, I get out of the car, what do I hear? A shot blaster and associated sounds with it. When National Engineering was situated down where Bunnings is, council couldn't wait to get it out of town quick enough. And when it finally shut down, they rezoned it. So why are we going to rezone Telegraph Road and make more noise? We're going backwards. I'm not against Apollo making money. I'm not against the amount of people they employ. It's a great thing. They knew what they were buying when they moved there. So I think you just need to look at that. I wish them all the best, but I've got to live with that. What do I do after 38 years? Who's going to want my place? You can't even walk around the yard. I've had councillors come up there, they said, oh, I don't know how you put up with it. But when we get down here, you just vote with them. Come up and have a listen. Come up and have a listen any time. And see whether you want to live there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll move on to the next item, which is item 12.15, and that's the DA subdivision 8 lots in 7 lots, and that's 130 Allendale Road, Young. And Miss Fiona Douglas, Mrs. Fiona Douglas.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councillors, General Manager. As you know, my name is Fiona Douglas and I'm a long-time resident of Allendale Road and of Young. I'd like to bring you my concerns regarding the proposed lot of a 7-lot subdivision along Allendale Road at 130. The flora and fauna assessment was completed for the developer, highlighted 1 threatened species, 13 threatened species, including 11 birds, 1 being the superb parrot, and 1 bat and 1 mammal. Also, under Hilltops' own LAP, the area has been identified as having a sensitive waterway and sensitive groundwater vulnerability. Whilst modifications have been made by the developer, such as moving the driveways, which still requires the removal of old growth trees, rearranging the proposed housing developments on the envelopes and putting in a tree line, does not adequately address the protection of these already threatened species or protect the vulnerable waterways. I'm not sure if many of you have driven along Allendale Road, but it is a small dirt laneway. Major repairs are going to be required if this subdivision is going to go ahead. Whilst the laneway can be accessed by 2 locations, the first being Barangong Creek, which has washed away and would need to be re-engineered and reconstructed. The second is a heavily lined tree canopy and only has provisions for a single car access in some locations. Whilst the developer is going to widen the road frontage in front of the development only and is putting a contribution of approximately $34,000 and that's going to be paid for some of the upgrades to Allendale Road. The development proposal does not state when or where or how these upgrades are going to happen or when they're going to be completed. I would like to think that they would be significant, as effectively you are doubling the occupancy of the Allendale Road. Currently there are 7 houses and you're going to add another 7 more to that laneway. Once again, under Hilltop's own LEP, the road's required to have a 7-metre carriageway to access these proposed lots. This is simply not achievable due to the number of old growth trees that would need to be removed along Allendale Road. Allendale Road has been highlighted in studies from the New South Wales Department of Climate Change, Energy, Water and Environment of having a significant impact to the protection of threatened species, and has made recommendations to Council in the past about preserving the woodlands and habitats within this area. These recommendations have either not been looked at or have simply been dismissed. I have contacted additional departments, including Environmental Protection Authority, Saving Our Species, and the New South Wales Environment Planning Department regarding the protection of the threatened species, protecting the vulnerable waterways, and preserving the old growth trees along Allendale Road. And I'm still waiting on further information for them to come back to me. Considering the objectives under Hilltop's LEP for what an RU4 zone is, the development as it stands does not fit within these objectives. If the blocks are to be preserved, if the blocks are to preserve the biodiversity of the area and still keep within the scope of what an RU4 zone is under the Hilltops LEP, they are too small to achieve this objective. I ask Council today to either defer the proposal until further information is received regarding the protected species and the upgrade to Allendale Road, or consider reducing the size of the subdivision and going back to the existing 3 lots. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Our last speaker this afternoon is Mr. Mark Burks, and he will be talking about the Burrawa Touch and Netball Carnival. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'm here on behalf of the organising committee for the Burrawa Touch and Netball Carnival, St Joseph's Burrawa and Burrawa Central School. Firstly, can I start by thanking and acknowledging the amazing contribution and support of the Hilltops Council and the Burrawa Council before the amalgamation, in particular for the organising and financing of the traffic control for the council, for the carnival that is required. So thank you very much for the wonderful support that we've always received over the 60+ years of the carnival. It is such an amazing tradition in Burrawa, and we thank you for all the support that all the councils do give. The carnival is the largest carnival of its type in New South Wales that we're aware of, combining 2 sports in a day designed to encourage participation and friendly competition, promoting exercise to all students in the Hilltops area from years 1 to year 6. Some hundreds and hundreds every year participate from schools in Young, Burrawa, Harden, Murrumburra, Maringo and more. It is inclusive of all schools, regardless of whether it's public school, independent school or Catholic schools, and obviously inclusive to all students at far and wide. The carnival itself brings to Burrawa 6,000 people approximately to town for the day, raising the profile of not only Burrawa but the Hilltops Council area. The carnival canteens use local businesses for their supplies, including the IGA Burrawa, the Burrawa Bakery and the Harden Butchery, supplying all the meat and bacon and eggs for the day as well. As well as this, we're reliably informed that accommodation and meals in Burrawa the night before are very well utilised, and also obviously the fuel stations and cafes on the day are very well attended by transport and people in the town on the day. Together with that, the social media coverage from schools' Facebooks participating on the day, and also parent and carers' social media raises the profile of not only Burrawa, but Hilltops for however far and wide that would reach. primarily the day is a sporting day, but we do acknowledge that it is a fundraiser for both schools, raising funds for the benefit of the students at both schools. The funds in the that are raised are used for support programs for particularly those students in need, student and wellbeing and mental health programs, keeping up with technology demands so that our students have equal footing compared to their city counterparts, and also helping funding excursion costs for parents, including transport and other costs of excursions, so that our students can have the benefit of those experiences. The carnival is organised and run independently by staff, parents and community volunteers. It is possibly the biggest community combined effort that I've ever seen in my teaching career, and it is a huge undertaking from April to November, and we attract a large support from both the schools and to the outside wider community over the 60 years that it's been held. The volunteers mark all the 50+ courts and fields for the day, clean the canteens and control facilities, erect the needed marquees required, transport and set up the barbecue areas and equipment, set up the grounds with post padding, ground numbering, and clean these facilities afterwards. I would also, with the committee also acknowledges and understands that we would certainly pay the higher fee for the grounds for the day, and we're certainly open to do that. But we are quite confused around the figures that are bandied around for the cost to the council in wages and use of equipment on the day. We're just not sure where those figures come from, but we'd certainly love the opportunity to sit with council to work out where those expenses are so that we can plan for future carnivals with less cost in those areas. It would be fantastic to have a look and see what cost-cutting measures we can achieve together. And lastly, we appreciate any ongoing support from the council for the day. As I said, it has been going for 60+ years. Thousands and thousands of students and families every year participate in the carnival. And certainly if we can work together, hopefully we won't lose this tradition of the carnival in years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll continue with the first part of the meeting. After we have the sympathy expressions and a few bits and pieces to get through. Then we will look at perhaps moving a motion to move these items up so that in the audience, in the gallery, you don't have to spend your whole time waiting as we go through. So instead of 4 hours later, hopefully it will be maybe 2 hours later that you get out of here. Okay. But if we start, my first role after the public forum is the statement of ethical obligations. And councillors are reminded that they will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of Hilltops local government area and the Hilltops Council, and that they will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment as per their oath or affirmation of office made under section 233A of the Local Government Act 1993. Next, attendance. We have a I can't think of the word. Here you are. I'm stuck. There you are. A request. That's the word I wanted. A request for leave of absence from Councillor Matthew Stadmiller, and also a request from Councillor Jo Mackie that she attend by digital means for carer duties. Moved by Councillor Flannery, second by Councillor Ingram. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on now to sympathy expressions. And I ask that the staff members of the public be upstanding for a minute's silence to express our sympathy on the passing of the following. Justina Holland, Betty Fay, Rodney Ferguson, Graham Thurkettle, Ronald Lowry, Margaret McDonald, William Smith, Patricia O'Day, Thomas Stoneham, Ian Sharrock, Dorothy Shepherd. Thank you, everybody. Now, General Manager.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Councillor Ingram has requested to speak and honour Councillor Greg Armstrong.
Certainly. Councillor Ingram.
Thank you very much, Mr. General Manager. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and pay tribute to Councillor Gregory John Armstrong, who passed away peacefully with his family around him, Calvary Hospital in Wagga, Saturday evening. I was fortunate enough to have been able to spend time with Greg last Thursday and again on Friday. And he remained strong and alert until his body could give no more. On Friday, when his family had arrived, I told Greg I had to get back to Young, as I had a horse racing. He looked up and gave me a smile and said, "Good luck." Greg, the horse, won. Greg was a servant to the community for 47 years, 40 as an employee and 7 as a councillor. He first worked on the Young Municipal Council, starting on the 24th of January, 1977. As an accounting computer operator, whatever they did, and then on the Young Shire Council, where he rose to become the Director of Corporate and Community, as well as filling the role of Acting General Manager on numerous occasions. And finally, for a short period for Hilltops Council while it was under administration. He also served on Golden Fields Water Board as Council's representative from 2017 to 2021. I first met Greg at an induction for new councillors in 2012. And even though we came from very different backgrounds with different interests, him shooting pistols and me racing horses, we struck up a relationship that would turn into a strong, valuable friendship. Greg was a stickler for procedure and doing things correctly. It was the little things that count, he would say to me. I think now they are known as the 1%ers. In doing his work, he showed no fear or favour for anyone that he was dealing from. I learnt this firsthand. And if you'll just bear with me, I'd like to tell a little story. It's got a moral to it in regard to the dedication that he had to his job. On a day in May 2016, the day was the 12th of May, I was at Parliament House, Macquarie Street in Sydney, representing council as mayor, speaking to various ministers. And on that day, there's a proclamation made that dissolved the former Burrawa, Harden and Young councils and initiated the newly sanctioned Hilltops Council. So when my meetings finished that day in Sydney, having them announcements made, normally I would stay, but I had to travel back to Young because I had a prior commitment to speak at the Young Services Club next morning as Mayor of Council, and so I drove home. Next morning, got up a bit tired, a bit doughy, running a bit behind time. So where are my notes for this presentation? My notes are in the Mayor's office, in the council chambers. It's okay, I'll go and grab them. So for people who know how we get into the council chambers in the Mayor's room, we've got a key card. So I came in the door, round the corner in a hurry, hit the key card on the lock, bent the door, and bang. I got a pretty big nose, bang, it hit the door. So what's going on? I swiped my card again. It wouldn't work. I went over to the staff at the front desk and I said, "Oh, look, could you lend me a card? My card doesn't seem to want to work." you'll have to go and see Greg Armstrong. They said, see Greg. Not forgetting Greg and I got on really well. Upstairs I went, Greg, I've got a problem, the key card won't open the door, I can't go in. And he just sat there and he said, and it won't. I said, what do you mean it won't? He said, young council doesn't exist anymore. You're not mayor, you're not even a councillor. I said, well, that doesn't change the fact that I need my notes out of the office. I'll take you down. So he had to escort me down into the room because it was procedure. It was his job. And I will go on to say that when I made the presentation at the club, the first statement I made was, we're no longer representing young council, and I'm no longer the mayor. Do you still want me to go on? And they did. But the moral to that is that, as I said, he had no fear or favour for who he dealt with. And anyone who might have butted heads with Greg along the way, and there has been a few, would understand. Nothing was personal. It was his job. And that's what he was doing. With the formation of Hilltops Council, Greg decided to retire and then stood as a candidate at the inaugural election of councillors, the Hilltops Council, and was duly elected to the newly formed council in 2017. And what a great asset he was with his knowledge and a memory that never failed him. Greg was a man of great knowledge, integrity, and an overwhelming passion for his community. His passing leaves an enormous void in our council and the wider community, as his pursuits and endeavours to make things better were unmatched. The community and council have lost a great ambassador and servant, and I personally have lost a great friend and mentor who spent the last 12 years trying to take the rough edges off me, and as some would know, that's no small task. I could talk about his achievements for a week, but I will leave that for another time. But at this point, I would ask all to be upstanding with me again. And now take a moment to reflect on a life, the loss of a life that was full of giving and never taking. Rest in peace, Greg. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. And I
Madam
forgot-
Mayor, may I just thank Councillor Ingram. I'm sure every councillor here has exactly the same feelings. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. And with those words, we'll continue on and feeling certainly the fact that Councillor Armstrong is not with us. And the next item is the confirmation of minutes. Thank you. That was Councillor Fitzgerald and second by Councillor Flannery.
I'll second. Could I have my attendance at Anzac Day included in the minutes, please? Thank you.
Yes. Anything else from anybody? If not,
Through you, Madam Mayor, have we made those adjustments to that? There was a vote that was changed that I didn't vote for the thing that I was declared an interest for. Thank you.
okay, righto. Thank you. So everything's okay. All right. Those in favour of passing the minutes? Unanimous. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to the next one. 6.2. Here we go. Okay. Oh, yes, pardon me. We did have an extraordinary meeting. So the next one is 6.2, confirmation of minutes, Hilltops Council extraordinary meeting on the 29th of May, 2024.
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Foreman. Seconded, Councillor Flannery. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. The next one, disclosures of interest.
I have a disclosure of interest for item 24/158. It's a non-pecuniary interest and I will debate and vote in the matter.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. No more? All right. The next one, mayoral minute. There's not one, no mayoral reports. So we will go down to the mayoral report. Pardon me, I too, I think I am affected a bit by Councillor Armstrong at this meeting. You can see the engagements for the April-May. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Foreman. Seconder, Councillor Piper. Thank you. Those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. We'll move on to councillor reports. And the first one on our list is actually for Councillor Greg Armstrong. Right up to the 22nd of May, was totally involved in everything in the community. I'll just go around. Councillor Dodd.
Nothing else to add.
Thank you. Councillor Piper.
Nothing else.
Councillor Hewson.
Extraordinary meeting. Meetings with constituents. Constituents of one bad and one group. Both of those places have pubs at the end.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Councillor.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Wombat and Buller Creek, and both had pubs. Of course, it was nothing to do with the pubs. It was roads in both cases.
Councillor Sundry.
Thank you. Extraordinary meeting, Galong Village meeting, and Galong VPA meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Fitzgerald.
Meetings as minuted. Thank
you. And Councillor Foreman.
Meetings as minuted. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Ingram.
Meetings as minuted. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald, and seconder, Councillor Foreman. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody.
My meetings are as minuted too, just letting you know.
Oh, pardon me.
That's okay.
How could we exclude you, Councillor?
I know, sorry about
Councillor
that.
Mackie, do you have anything to add?
No, as minuted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, we have community recognition scheme. Has anybody any community recognition?
Madam Mayor, Graham Thurcattle is listed in the minutes in the condolence motions, but I'd particularly like to mention the amount of time and effort he put into Harden Rugby Club, keeping it going. He's one of many people who keep our local communities, or has kept our local communities alive over the years, and sadly missed from the Harden community.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. We'll make sure that a letter is sent to his family. All right. Councillor Foreman.
Madam Mayor, could I possibly move forward some of the items that were spoken? Not yet.
Councillor Ingram, you have
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
recognition?
It's just something that I received a phone call last night from a previous mayor, a leader before her time, Murray McCormick, in relation to Councillor Armstrong, and she suggested to me that we might think about putting a condolence book in the foyer of our hall. So I'd like to ask if that was okay with his wife Dyer, Mr. General Manager. You might make contact there, and if she's happy for that to happen, that council might be happy for that to take place, and people can just drop in and put a note and their name at any time. So thank you. And I'm passing my thanks to Murray McCormick, who rang me last night. She dealt with Greg a long time ago.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. No. So we will organise that, and we need. Is there a mover and seconder, or a seconder for Councillor Flannery's recognition? Okay, thank you, councillor Fitzgerald. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Oh. We just have to make sure our microphones are off at the right time. Okay, now we'll go back to Councillor Foreman.
Okay.
Councillor Foreman.
For you, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move up some items on the agenda tonight that were spoken to and against.
Happy to second that.
Thank you. So we've got a mover and a seconder. Would you like to tell us the items?
So we have item 12.5-24/151. Item 12.12-24158.
Yes.
Item 12.15, 24-161. And item 12.19, 24-165.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Foreman. We have a seconder.
Yes, Councillor Ingram.
Councillor Ingram. All right, those in favour? Unanimous. All right, so moved. In that case, we will work down the list, and the first one is the long-term financial plan, which is actually item 12.5 on the end agenda. Yes, it is page 102. You're quite right. So do I have a mover for endorsement of Hilltops Council 2024-25 operational plan, budget review policy, fees and charges after public exhibition? Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Foreman. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Hewson. Councillor Foreman, you want to speak to it?
Look, I do respect everybody's opinion on the operational plan, the revenue, the fees and charges and so on and so forth. I think we as council are working extremely hard on a financial improvement strategy to address areas of our sustainability. There's a lot in the sustainability space, and it's a big body of work that is progressing well. There'll be a report. There is a report actually in here in these papers tonight. So I think we can be mindful that council is making every attempt to improve our financial strategy and look into how we could do things better on behalf of the community.
Thank you. Anybody else?
You calling for someone to speak against?
Yes. For or against? Councillor Ingram?
For, against, that's how it works, yep. Yeah, I won't be voting to accept or endorsing this item for a number of reasons. I spoke at the last meeting in regard to my concerns over some of the matters, what I call, and I know it's not appreciated, the cash grab, increasing the connection and user fees for the water in the former Young Tri Council that has a reserve of $8 million and a surplus of $700,000. And because we came in to a workshop and staff came in and said it's a 5% over everyone, and geez, that's very easy. Well, there's another word, it's called lazy. So I can't accept that. It was suggested about waste was the same. I suggested at a workshop 20%, because we need to start to be recovering some of our costs. Understanding at the time, and was pointed out by the director, 20% won't get us there, but I didn't think it was a bad start. I need to come back to the next business paper and it had gone to 30%. So on one hand, there was nothing, and next hand I said 20, someone said 30. There's some other things that concern me in regard to that. There'll be significant rises for all ratepayers in that. But the disappointing part for me, and it was just spoke by the Deputy Mayor about the financial improvement strategy. Well, it's got to get started sometime, but there was nothing brought to councillors from staff in regards to how we might really start to address the deficit. Those fees going up that we talked about, and I don't know, they're going to raise X amount of dollars, but they're going to go nowhere near fixing up a $6 million deficit in our general fund. But with the budget, there was no feedback about we might reduce our service levels in some areas. Go back to what the speaker actually spoke on earlier. You're supposed to have more coming in than going out. And again, he mentioned that there's no talk or reduction on saving on employee costs. And every time we look on the site, we seem to be employing someone again. No talk of reduction in capital works. All the budget does, unfortunately, says to the ratepayer, we need more money. But basically, we're going to do the same old stuff. That doesn't swim for me, unfortunately, and I know staff work extremely hard. I'm not pointing a finger at anyone. I'm just saying that from a ratepayer's point of view, it seems to be all one way. We had a SRV put up not that long ago that I fought very hard against, and so did the community. And having that happened, and the SRV being stopped, the community, if they weren't, should have been well aware that we have to rein some services in. We have to cut outgoings. It's as simple as that. But nothing in this budget touches that at all. So while I appreciate the work done, I believe that there was an opportunity to start looking at service levels, looking at saving on employee costs and reduction in capital works that has been missed for another 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Do I have another speaker? Councillor Sanders.
I'd like to support Councillor Ingram. I don't support the across the board. I'm speaking against it. I'm assuming there's no other speakers for it if we're following meeting protocol. I don't support the budget for very similar reasons. I don't support across the board increase to water rates on a fund that is already in surplus significantly. For those who are in the gallery, there's the general fund, the water fund, the sewer fund, and then waste. And we're increasing the charges on one fund that's significantly in surplus and not dealing with the general fund, which is where our roads, libraries, most of the the local government infrastructure is. And we're continuing as business as usual. And I think we've got to do better. And it's not addressing the key issue.
Thank you, Councillor Sundry. We have had 1 for and 2 against. No other speakers. Councillor Foreman, would you like to provide a reply?
Look, I would just like to add also that we have the local government is currently looking into the actual way that the local governments are funded. So it's not only our council that is sometimes up against up against it financially, because it is being recognised by local government that there is cost shifting. We are doing our absolute best with what we have and the model that we are given as a local government council to keep our finances under control. So, I mean, it isn't an easy task. We all know that, but we are working towards it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Foreman. All right, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Mackie, those against? The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to the next one, and that is 1212, and that is the planning proposal and voluntary planning agreement for 220 Telegraph Road, Young. Request gateway determination. Do I have a mover?
I will move with a question.
All right, thank you, Councillor Foreman. A seconder? Okay, Councillor Fitzgerald. Thank you. Councillor Foreman.
I think it would be beneficial at this point if the difference between an E3 zone and an E4 zone could be explained.
So through you, Madam Mayor, the issue in front of you today is that you're considering a rezoning proposal, not a particular development application. So understanding the difference between the zones is quite crucial. So an E3 zone is it's called productivity support, and is essentially a zone that supports light to medium industry and supporting activity, whereas the E4 zone is a general industry zone, which allows for a broader range of industrial activities. Now, the key thing to note is that the development proposals that are coming forward could be accommodated under either zone. So probably the best way to think of the difference between the zones is the things that are prohibited. So the key difference is in the E4 zone, the E3 zone, heavy industry is prohibited, which means that there's more consideration around the amenity impacts of those industrial activities on those surrounding land uses.
This councillor fails to see what that's about. I can't see E4 mentioned here anywhere. It's just E3.
So through you, Madam Mayor, the proposal from the proponent is for an E4 zone. Staff undertook a planning assessment.
About the recommendation to council?
So our recommendation to Council of Officers is for E3. Yep.
Yes, I think it was just that Councillor Foreman was just asking for a bit of clarity, also for people in the gallery when it came to that. But you're quite right. It's here to rezone to E3, and that's the question to know. Okay. Do I have any other? Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of questions. We've been previously informed relating to the Galong mine development that council can't enter into VPA negotiations until after a DA is approved. I'm assuming that's not the same with a planning proposal. Is that correct?
Yes, so through you, Madam Mayor, that is indeed correct, Councillor Flannery. So this is a VPA tied to a planning proposal and we can enter it. We would look to do those things concurrently. So what we're recommending here is that while you're approving the VPA to go out on exhibition, we wouldn't go out on exhibition until the gateway determination is granted by the department, and then we'd put both the VPA and the planning proposal out on public exhibition concurrently so people can see the totality of what's being proposed.
From my perspective, I have to say I'm not clear on what is being achieved through the VPA. Is it correct that there's the intersection upgrade will occur and then there is being an ongoing fee that will be negotiated?
Yes, so through you, Madam Mayor, there was an assessment done because it's an uptick in the zoning, and in terms of the network infrastructure to support the zoning upgrade, it was identified through the proponent's own studies that intersection needed to be upgraded to able to accommodate any future potential uses that take advantage of that upzoning. So the reason why we're putting it out now is that the community can have some assurance that those works are going to be done and that those infrastructure impacts are going to be addressed. Now, that doesn't count towards any developer contribution that is paid on any development that happens subsequent to that. So at this stage, it would be the 1% levy under a 712 plan that any development application would have to pay. So it doesn't count towards that.
Is it available to council to seek a bond in lieu of finalisation of the VPA in a situation like this?
So through you, Madam Mayor, there is provision in the VPA itself for a guarantee to be paid, and that wouldn't be released till the works were done to our satisfaction.
So when might that be requested if it were to be requested?
So through you, Madam Mayor, it would happen at the time that the VPA is executed. That could be after exhibition and when it comes back to council for approval.
So, well, it probably didn't quite answer the question. Would it happen before council if they were a mind to approve it before the approval, or would that be in front of council for consideration for approval?
So through you, Madam Mayor, the VPA would only be executed after the planning proposal had been...
I'm talking about the VPA, which might request also a bond to it. I mean, the facts of the matter are that there's been numerous complaints and numerous breaches of council's approvals, and we are relying on this gateway determination, we're relying on Apollo saying that they will do the intersection upgrade, and a certificate won't be approved until that's finalised. So sadly, that the facts are that we haven't they haven't met requirements to date. So what if we were of a mind to approve it? What guarantees would we have?
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I didn't quite understand your question. And that's on me. So yeah, just to say that the mechanism to assure compliance is that, in the VPA, is that no occupation certificate would be released until those works were done to our satisfaction. In addition to that, there's a bond that's tied to the work that's being done, so that we can be assured that the works are being done. Now, from my perspective, and the team's perspective, we have been in an active compliance footing with Apollo for a couple of years now, and I think that has generated some progress, and I think there has been an improvement. Obviously, this issue is long-standing. There's a lot of history that predates the current staff, but on the strength of that, I can assure you that in the VPA there are all the protections for the council to ensure that the work is done before any occupation certificate is released.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, just a point of clarification.
Councillor.
I'm just, it's a rather complicated proposal. I'd just like to be as clear as possible on this one. My understanding of what we're voting on today is to recommend to the Department of Planning that this area be rezoned E3. The Department of Planning would have every right to reject that if they saw reason to. And if they did accept it, it would come back to us and it would be on display then for 28 days. And then it comes before council again for finalisation. So we're really in the middle of a process. Yeah, okay, thank you.
And through you, Madam Mayor, to put it in non-planning talk, essentially the approval you're doing now and taking it to the department.
Can I seek clarification? The request for approval. You can't assume we're going to vote for it.
Okay, so through you, Madam Mayor, so your deliberations tonight on whether to take the request to the department for gateway determination and the work that the department does on the gateway determination, you can think of it as knocking the proposal into suitable shape so that it can then go out to the community for comment and consultation through exhibition. So then after that process, the council will receive submissions and then you will deliberate on those decisions, those submissions, and then make a decision on whether to approve the planning proposal at that point in time. So the work you're doing now is to either endorse it going forward to that second phase of scrutiny as a proposal before it goes out to the community.
Another question through you, Madam Mayor. In relation to CORESMAG facility, we put in the LEP for it to be zoned E2, and it was rejected by the department, and they went back to I've forgotten the name, a dead zoning or a no zoning, undeclared. What possibility, or has there been discussions with the department regarding E3 versus E4? Is there any possibility the department may instate an E4?
So through you, Madam Mayor, there's actually two elements to this. So first off, it's if you endorse this, the proposal that goes to the department is a recommendation is the E3 zoning, and then the department will do their own assessment based on strategic merit and site-specific merit, and will either look to adjust it or endorse it to go out on exhibition. The other thing to say is that if the proponent is unhappy with where even the decision tonight, they have the opportunity to request a rezoning review, and that goes to the department, and then they appoint a group of planning professionals to do a review and to recommend whether to grant gateway determination. So we have this decision in front of us, but there are other processes that are outside of our control.
So one of parts of the question was, has there been negotiation between council and the department?
So the department is aware of the recommended position of council and the reasons for it. So yeah, they are aware what's been discussed tonight.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, councillor Parker.
So if tonight we decide to do nothing, the whole decision could be taken out of our hand completely.
So through Madam Mayor, if you decide to even not endorse any of the proposal, either the initial proposal from the proponent or the recommended approach here, the proponent has the option to seek that rezoning review and go straight to the department.
Thank you.
I'm asking, obviously, the impossible, but do you have any idea of how long it would take for the department to respond if we did recommend this to the department today?
So through you, Madam Mayor, as you'd be aware, there was an earlier proposal that the department closed the gateway on us because they were unhappy with the time it was taking for us to essentially negotiate the VPA. When they closed the gateway determination, they did say that they would look to progress in a resubmitted gateway determination application in a timely manner. So that's the only indication we've had so far.
Yeah, so it's really up to them to decide the time it takes.
It does.
Yes. Councillor Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just a bit confused there for a start because both Callum and Nathan spoke very well in support of the record. What's in front of us, I thought, and that's an E3. So I just wanted to clarify that's what happened. Very good. And again, I'd like to congratulate them for the manner in which they've worked with council on this particular proposal for this rezoning, and collaboration and working together, and the word trust was used with each other. And I can see things have come a long way from where they were, and it's no secret of my involvement with prior DAs with the organisation. But I respect what they've done and I respect what they'd like to do. And I had a serious thought in my mind that I could see my way clear of not only complimenting what's been done, but actually vote for it. That was until I received a number of emails from people who they had to declare a conflict of interest like we do, probably wouldn't have wrote them emails, from people who directly benefit from that organisation, and that's good luck to them. And I've got no problem with that, except when they send them to me recommending how I should vote in council. My integrity has never been and never will be for sale.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Are there any more comments, questions? If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour?
Councillor Fitzgerald, Councillor Flannery, Councillor Brawls, Councillor Houston, Councillor Plunkett, Councillor Dodd, Councillor Mackey.
Those against?
Councillor
Ingram. Okay, motion's passed. Thank you, councillors.
And congratulations to the organisation.
All right, we'll move on to the last one in this, and that's
There's two.
Oh, two more, pardon me. The next one is the Allendale Road, which is item 1215. And that's the subdivision. And the recommendation is there to grant development consent to development application.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move motion from the floor.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ingram.
For a deferral of this matter.
Do I have a seconder? Okay, Councillor Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I thank the Speaker for pointing out some information. I've had other information sent to me. And it's just that the reports I read delivered from one side, a direct conflict with reports that are in the presented by council or to council to put forward to us. In regard to the habitats, the groundwater, all those things that we are supposed to be really aware of, and everyone would know that that's not my strong point. But when I start reading documents that say one thing in another document and land environment court and all this type of stuff, and who's responsible for this, And with the road matter that would fall back to council as well, I just believe that I personally would need to have a workshop on this matter and have my mind cleared before I voted on a project that has significant ramifications if we get it wrong. And I think, to speak for myself, but I've been through the item a couple of times this morning again, and I will be seeking more clarification and answers from staff, and I believe that I would need to have a deferral of this matter until such time. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor.
Look, I support those comments too. I think there's a number of questions that need answers to, or more thorough reporting to us before we can make a decision on it. I'd also like to note that it's not that far from noting the council's recommendations. It's about, as the crow flies, 5 k's from one we were advised to knock back a few months ago.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, the question I would have is concerning what future plans there would be for the upgrade of that Allendale Road, which is not, it's really a track at the moment. And I'd have to see that to what plans we would have. And I'm not sure whether there are any plans. And that's the reason why I think I would probably support Councillor Ingram's motion.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Any other comments, questions?
I have a question.
Councillor Dodd.
What's the impact of a deferral other than that it's just a month?
Yep. So through you, Madam Mayor, we're already in deemed refusal territory. So putting it back another month doesn't change the status of the DA at all. So if the applicant's unhappy, they have a mechanism to take this to the Land and Environment Court. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just regarding the road. So at one end of Allendale Road, it is treacherous, if that's a word. And obviously the other end where the development entry will be the developer will contribute towards. Do we have any plans at all for the dirt end of Allendale Road that you know of?
So through you, Madam Mayor, so the upgrade of Allendale Road in its totality is in our forward works program and is in the contributions plan on which we are asking the developer to make the contribution for. I think the issues you're talking about the timing of that, the implications of that, are things that'd be worthwhile having a workshop about. Because there's definitely some challenges with it.
Can I just ask a question, get this clear? You're saying that to defer it for another month puts at risk of going to the land, or it doesn't?
No more risk than we already are.
Than we already are.
We're in that period where the applicant could choose to take that path if they so wished.
And within this month that we could actually have that workshop?
So through you, Madam Mayor, we will look to do that. We'll look to do that workshop at the next briefing, and then to bring this back to the next council meeting.
Okay, does that clear everybody? We'll just remember that we're going to vote on the motion to defer the matter for further information. Those in favour? I think I am too, actually.
Unanimous.
So it's unanimous. Okay. Thank you. So the matter is deferred. And we'll go now to the last one that was brought up tonight, and that is 1219. And I would like to move this with some changes. Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor. Oh, pardon me. I most probably can't. No, you most probably could, right, Councillor Ingram. I can do anything. Okay, we'll just wait till people are out. Okay. All right. We'll look at coming up 1219, distribution of council's financial assistance and sponsorship program. I'm happy to move it, but with some changes. Is that all right? Do I pass my? Okay, do I?
But you need to talk to the motion, what the changes are.
All right, I will talk to the motion about the changes. Do I need a second?
No, you.
No, I'll talk.
Madam Mayor, you talk through the councillor Former and still the sentiment to support it.
All right. The changes I'll talk to. I'm happy to receive and note the report, and in approving the recommendations to rescind the council resolution resolved at the ordinary June 2021 council meeting, and before that at the May one, just to clean up that issue. I think we do have to rescind that. Provide funding to the recommended projects to be funded in the 2023-24 Financial Assistance and Sponsorship Program. For 3, I'm looking that it become funding for traffic control for Burrawa Touch football and netball carnivals be funded from revenue, whilst assisting the Carnival Committee to investigate and access alternative sources of long-term financial funding. I put that in because a carnival like this, as we were told earlier, involves almost 12, 18 months, 2 years worth of preparation.
Madam Mayor, if you could read your full motion first.
Oh, all right. Pardon me. Yes, thank you. And number 4, note that routine work such as mowing and facility maintenance will be undertaken using operational funds prior to the annual Burrawa Touch football and netball carnival. Okay.
Can we just get clarification on the amendment?
So what we'll have.
Well, it's changes rather than amendment.
Well, I'll ask a question while we talk. That's happening on. So, dot point 3.
Yep.
You said provide the traffic control for the event from revenue.
Yes.
It's there to provide $10,000 for the traffic control out of the sponsorship fund. So
I'm
what are you trying to do?
moving that out of the sponsorship fund.
Why are you doing that? There was only last meeting, Madam Mayor, that you were so contentious in the year before and the year before that it came out of that fund. What's the change? Well, explain to me why the difference when it came out of revenue and not out of the fund that we.
If it comes out of revenue, then that talked about 26,000 that has been banding around forever is no longer taken out of that financial assistance and sponsorship program.
Never has been, Madam Mayor. The $10,000 for the traffic is to come out of that sponsorship program. That's what we thought. Yeah, we weren't going to pay the other money in kind and do all the work. The work will be done on the ground by staff as normal. Speakers are happy to pay for that to be done for the field. Why would you want to take $10,000 more out of our revenue?
I think it.
And the $10,000 that's left in the sponsorship fund would go to someone else. So you're costing us an extra $10,000 in our revenue.
My concern.
No, I'm not about your concern. Why would you want to cost?
Can I
explain to me why you want to cost council $10,000.
Can I answer? Yep. Thank you. All right. My concern is to see the ongoing funding of this carnival, this celebration, if you like, of children's sport. At the moment, it is only funded for 2024. Nothing is said about further on. If you look at point 4, it says funding for future will be considered subject to a separate application to council. That separate application is to the Financial Assistance and Sponsorship Committee. And if we look at the policy, it means that the maximum amount that could be given is $2,500. Am I correct in saying that, Director?
Yes.
Yes, according to ours. That in no way ensures that this iconic event will keep on going. When I say if it comes from general revenue, it means that at the moment it will be ongoing, but if you think of the codicil that I have put on it, whilst at the same time working with the committee to look for other sources of long-term financial backing. My concern is that if it has to go through the financial assistance and sponsorship program, we won't be able to do it. We can't. It's only $2,500, and that doesn't support that 10,000. When I say it comes out of revenue, yes, it comes out of general revenue. I would like to think that Burra residents and the wider Hilltops would be happy to make sure that the safety of our children is in here. So whether it would come out of the road funding maybe for Burra, it would be a minimal amount and yet would ensure their safety. The second part that I have put up says, whilst assisting the Carnival Committee to investigate and access alternative sources of long-term financial backing for the event. We do know that there is a possibility of other funding coming into the region, but at the moment we don't have any security of that. I see this event.
Could you clarify that statement?
Just as I suppose I'm looking at the wind farm.
They are generating and we are receiving money, and there's already been an allocation.
Bango has, Rye Park, they're calling for application.
There'll be $170,000 ready.
Right, yeah. But for the moment, we have no security, and neither does the carnival have security of that money until they know. So I suppose I am looking, and I have always supported this carnival. It doesn't bring in money to our council, but it supports our community and the children of our community. And also it's been an iconic event, first in Burra, but also all over. When the last one, point four, routine work, mowing and facility maintenance. We heard earlier that there is willingness to meet on hiring the grounds, and I presume that would take into account the additional areas that council has looked after previously, as I think it was the bins, providing that sort of thing, which presumably, well, I would presume or take into that the committee would be able to fund. But my concern is to make sure that the carnival has surety of continuation of funding. And the resolution as it reads here, or the recommendation, to my mind, doesn't bring that. And that's why I'm putting forward for consideration these changes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak against your motion. With the greatest respect, some of it doesn't make any logic at all. At all. In the recommendation, provide 10,000 to the Burra Touch Football Network for traffic control that I said I'd be happy with, and out of the sponsorship fund this year. And next year the rules change, and that's correct. I've been contacted by people in Burra after that meeting, and I've got the emails, stating that I was correct, that handing all that money to one group, one organisation, left a lot of small organisations who also have children to look after without any money. And this person happens to have a bit of pull, I think, with the wind farms. I believe it'd be $170,000 in the next financial year, allocated to be spent within 20 kilometres of Burra, nowhere else. I am a gambling man, and I'd like to bet you, Madam Mayor, that they'll be only too happy to fund the Burra Touch Football Netball Carnival, probably with a bit of luck for council, to the full extent. And that is a given. The part that rattles me about you wanting to change the 10,000 coming out of the sponsorship fund this year is out of revenue. The $10,000 in the sponsorship fund will be spent to someone else, and council will be up for another $10,000 out of revenue. You're asking council to just cost themselves $10,000, and we've just passed a budget, or I didn't pass a budget, that says we'll have a general fund deficit of $6.3 million. And here we are saying, well, here's an extra 10,000, we'll just throw it out. It's not confetti, Madam Mayor. The recommendation as it reads pretty true for this year, and next year is looked at with a whole new council and a whole new different view. Might I add, in speaking against it, that this is a fundraiser for state schools. Someone mentioned cost shifting earlier on. Here we are, expected with a $6.3 million budget blowout and the deficit to be supporting them in the first place. But big-hearted, my mate's gone. We said last meeting we had $10,000 for traffic control needs to be done this year, and it should be done out of the sponsorship fund, but definitely not 10,000 somewhere else and 10,000 on top out of revenue. That it just does not make any logic at all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak? Or against? Councillor Piper.
Just a couple of clarifications for.
Pardon me too, and I see you, Councillor Mackie.
Yeah.
Just a couple of points of clarification for Councillor Ingram. The money coming from the wind farms will be nearly $2,500. Sorry. 63,000 from Bango and 175,000 from Tilt. That all goes.
I'll take it back, $235,000.
That's right.
In 20 kilometres of Burrawa.
Sorry?
Yeah.
To be spent 20 kilometres of Burrawa.
No, that's not correct. It has to be spent within 20 kilometres of the furthest wind turbine provider one.
And where are they located?
Or if the distribution committee can't agree and there's money left over, it can be spent at the furthest western point of Hilltops Council. Read the constitution for both of the wind farms.
I fully concur with what you've just said, and I fully agree with you. You're exactly right. And the day that committee can't allocate that money within those 20 kilometres will be a funny day.
I'm not arguing with that.
Councillor Mackie.
I just wanted to support what Mark said earlier on, and what you said, Madam Mayor, about the annual football netball carnival. I mean, it titled the Burrawa Football Netball Carnival, but we do know that it really does some great things for Hilltops in general. And it's not just about kids playing sport on the day. It's about whole communities getting together and seeing the benefits and the social capital that comes out of the day. I'd hate to think that talking about $10,000 would make a difference to something that's been around for 60 plus years. An event that's still growing. One of the lovely things I think about this carnival, or whatever sort of money you put on it, is that it's a day that includes so many different people in the community. It's kids, it's past parents, teachers, and it's actually not about winning. There isn't a trophy. It's just about people getting in and really enjoying a community day. So I think the way you frame this motion, I think it looks good, and there's some sort of assurance until we do know that the wind farm money may blow its way into Burrawa.
Could I just have a point of clarification, Madam Mayor, just for a moment, just to clarify something I've said?
Yes.
At no time have I ever said that I wouldn't support the $10,000 for the traffic. I was the one who suggested it. So don't have anyone ever say that I said I wouldn't support the $10,000. I've supported the $10,000 out of the sponsorship fund. I do not support it coming out of revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I'd like to support the Burrawa Carnival. I think it's a fantastic thing. And not only for this year, but for ongoing years. I think it really deserves our support. I believe what we're arguing about is how we support it, whether it's from the sponsorship fund, which in future years has a limit of $2,500. So we've got to find something else. So if we put it down as revenue, that gives us some avenues. I would assume that any representatives from the council or from the Burra community on the wind farm committees would be saying this would be an area where we could fund it and thus take it out of our hands, which would be great. But I am committed to the ongoing funding of the Burra Netball Carnival. I'm just not sure how to go about it, although I think what you're trying to say, Madam Mayor, probably makes sense for the moment.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Thank you, Councillor Piper. You've had one turn. We'll hand over Councillor Flannery.
I'd like to speak against the change to the recommendation. I support the recommendation, which guarantees the $10,000 in sponsorship funds for traffic control this year, without identifying where the funds will come from the budget. It's a no-no. So firstly, I think part of your motion also needs to identify the source of funding from revenue, what you will be cutting to pay for it. Secondly, I hear loud and clear that it's an important carnival for Burra, and it is. There is no doubt about it. It is one of the most important events on the Hilltops calendar. But I've also sat at many GALONG Progress Association meetings where small village, 100 people, have sat there and provided dollar after dollar to help fund the studies into the bike trail, the rail trail, upgrading to bike trail. And when it's come to Burra putting their money where their mouth is, they struggle to get a cent out of them. I think we're up to about 50 or 60,000 out of GALONG, which they've used out of residual funds and donations. And Burra, we've got reluctantly received 20,000 out of. Now, I'm happy to be bombarded by Burra residents saying that I'm wrong, but from the meetings I've attended and the information I've received, they are the facts. If we put this into writing, what it will mean is it's more likely than not money won't come from the wind farms. They'll say council's funding that out of reserves and they're losing $6.5 million, but they're funding it out of their revenue. So we'll give our money to every other organisation in and around the Burra community. So I actually think it is more likely than not to lead to not getting the funding from the wind farm. I think we should leave it as it is. And if I were to be re-elected next year and the wind farm chose not to give their sponsorship dollars, firstly, I'd be aghast. But secondly, I would reluctantly vote for council putting money. But it should be a year by year, and the pressure should be back on the Burra community to come up with the money. I'm sorry, that's how I see it. I don't think they can call for bleating hearts from the wider Hilltops community when there'll be $235,000 available. I think we've got to be realistic about this.
Through Madam Mayor, did I take from that, Councillor Flannery, that you're foreshadowing if Madam Mayor's motion doesn't go, you go?
Yes, I'll be foreshadowing that we return to the original motion.
Okay, well, anybody else who hasn't spoken?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I would like some clarification. So if we do the $10,000 out of, for example, revenue, does that mean we have to reallocate? What happens to the $10,000 that's coming out of the financial assistance program? We have to reallocate that 10,000. Yeah, somewhere else. Yeah, right. Okay. So, okay. Thank you.
General Manager?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just a point of clarification. The committee that allocates based upon the applications, they recommend what of the pot, the 100,000, which is the pot, and they do it 2 times a year. If there's any money not allocated, it returns to the bottom line. But the process has been all of that money is available, and certainly this year all of it was allocated. Okay, so just clarifying, it's the committee makes a recommendation to council, then council proper make a recommendation, either accept those recommendations or not. Just wanted to make sure that was clarified.
Point of clarification through you, Madam Mayor. It is also up to the sitting council to, if any organisation were to apply above the 2,500 threshold, for the sitting council to determine that they want to vary the allocation.
That's correct, and they'd also have to acknowledge that the policy has set that there is a limit, and it'd have to acknowledge that. So, as per the resolution. Yep.
So to give some certainty to the Burrawa Touch Football Carnival for 2 years, can we provide the 10,000 out of the financial assistance this year? Put in something that says something like next year consider allocating 10,000 from revenue if they haven't got funding elsewhere, or do we actually have that sort of written down, which is basically what you've said? I think that if they can't get it, it would come back to council. I'm just concerned that they might need 2 years of.
Fully understand that, Councillor Dodd, and my answer to that would be, yeah, I concur with that, but I would be leaving that to the newly formed council.
Madam Mayor, just a question. Why
Councillor
keep throwing $10,000 up? I thought the allocation was for traffic control.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the $10,000 was the estimate. The quotes have come through, somewhat. I think it's less than that, about 8,900. I think it is. But
thought the estimate was $8,843.80.
Look, there we go. Yeah, but that's the.
Yes.
Again, the 10,000 was just to make sure that there was enough money there to pay for the traffic control.
So if I can jump in here, Madam Mayor, yes, that estimate is based on the previous year's cost. So $10,000 allows for some increase over that year.
So where are we up to?
Can I just say one more thing? I'm sorry. So if we were to have the recommendation that it was initially in front of us, but would it work if or would it be viable to just take out the 2024 dates in 3 and 5?
Okay, so I'm just going to clarify the procedural. We have a motion moved by the Mayor, which is the motion up on the screen.
I did say this.
So that will need to be voted upon.
Yeah.
We have a foreshadowed motion by Councillor Flannery to go back to the motion that was recommended. Depending on this vote, should the foreshadowed motion become the motion, at that point you would seek amendments, and then the debate can be amending the foreshadowed motion. But you can't amend the foreshadowed motion before that motion is dealt with.
I did know you were going to say something like that, but I was just thinking my comment after that was because to give the touch and some assurity going forward. If we remove the dates in there, because the concern is the wind farm may not.
I understand the sentiment, and that's between for you councillors. I believe that's what has been articulated there.
Can I just get clarification in relation to certainty going forward? There's clearly significant sentiment, even from within this room, regardless of how people vote, that it's critical to the Hilltops community. And as I said, should they not receive funding from the wind farm allocation, and they had to put in a request for a budget allocation, I would vote for it. But I think it should be of a mind for each sitting council to choose when we are borrowing money every year on the priorities. Now, I think that is a reasonable position for all of us to be in, and I think it's quite reasonable given the specific allocation of a VPA from the wind farms that they first go to that source. And I think it's quite a reasonable proposal.
Thank you, Councillor. If there are no more comments, I'll have the right of reply, and then we'll put it to the floor. In putting forward.
Sorry, just the point that I believe Councillor Flannery said, went through revenue. You mentioned road. That would be more specific from roads maintenance. I believe that would probably be clearer than just revenue. Because that may not be
roads maintenance or gravel reshooting. It needs to be very identified where the funding would be coming from.
Well, then there'd be the budget for
roads maintenance.
For roads maintenance and we look at the
Should we
first-
put that up?
I think that would need to change.
I believe it would need to specify sealed or unsealed.
From your knowledge of the budget without me looking at it.
I'll have to refer to the
Ring the farmers and see if they want to take
proposed
it off the gravel
program.
resheeting program.
Thank you, councillor.
So perhaps the Borough local resealing program. At present, we've proposed $180,000 of work and a budget of almost 250.
Yes, I'm happy to be specific. I would like to think that the Borough community would support the safety of their children, as all Hilltops councillors would support the safety of their children. We'll just wait for it to come up.
Point of
Yes,
clarification,
Councillor Flannery.
Madam Mayor. I don't see where the council funds the traffic authority guaranteed locked in. So are we locking in ongoing that Borough unsealed road program will be allocated money and then it'll be redrawn by 10,000 on an ongoing basis? Because if we're talking about safety, we're taking 10,000 off the Borough road allocation ad infinitum until the future councils choose to add that back. So it'll be 184 minus 10 ongoing indexed.
That is correct. Once again, I would like to say that I would like to think that there is support for, you're right, the allocation of that funds being spent on traffic control for the safety of our children for this event, which is an iconic event and very important to Burrawa. I'd also like to just remind that the second part of 3, where it was funding for traffic control for Burrawa Touch Football Network Carnival, funded from Burrawa Unsealed Roads program. The second part is most probably just as important. Whilst assisting the Carnival Committee to investigate and access alternative sources of long-term financial backing. And that long-term financial backing is the important part to keep this very important carnival going. I count it just as important, if you like, as the other festivals that we have in the region. It might not bring in dollars to Hilltops, but it certainly brings in reputational dollars, and also it brings in social capital. So I would like councillors to consider the changes that have been made to this recommendation. And I will now, that is the motion, it's up there before you. And I will put it to the vote. And as in a democracy, we'll be accepting. All right, so those in favour of the motion.
Councillor Houston, Councillor Mackie.
Those against? Okay, so the motion's lost, and
so therefore the
foreshadowed.
Foreshadowed, Councillor Flannery, you foreshadowed the motion, so we need a seconder for that foreshadowed motion, Councillor Ingram. So Councillor Foreman, once Councillor Flannery's talked to it, you must raise what you raised or not.
Thank you. Look, I'll reiterate, I strongly support the Burrawa Touch Carnival, and I think there's a significant bucket of money there for ongoing traffic control and other general amenity around Burrawa. And if for an unforeseen reason, those funds are diverted elsewhere from the wind farm, and it's always the option to come back to council, and if that were the case, I would more likely than not support it. If there was a once-off requirement for all the wind farm money to go elsewhere for some significant reason, but I think the motion adequately covers the requirements of a touch carnival while also looking after other organisations within the community.
Councillor Foreman, is this the appropriate time to foreshadow a motion?
There's two things. You foreshadow a motion if this motion was to be lost. If you are moving an amendment to
Oh,
this
I'm moving an
motion,
amendment. Yes, I am.
Your amendment, then
I would like to leave the recommendation as is, but take out the actual dates, the 2024 in number 3 and the 2024 in point 5.
so I'll ask Councillor Flannery and Ingram.
I don't think it has any effect, quite honest. So these are once-off motions. You have to put it into. You have to change. Sorry, I should have my speaker on. Look, I don't support it. I think it's clear, but in any event, it might be well intentioned, but you'd actually have to change the budget to put a permanent allocation in there.
So, Councillor Foreman, are you moving that as a formal amendment, and someone would need to second that?
Yes, I am moving it because I feel that this just gives some certainty around the funding going forward, which I know is of interest to the schools. I know that that's how they feel. So they want some I guess, to know that it's ongoing. There's our support. I'll second it.
I'm happy to speak, my friend Deputy Mayor, against it. You've just opened up basically what we've just voted down by the Mayor's original change. The only difference is you're going about a different way with changing the dates of it. As Councillor Flannery pointed out, these are yearly things. You start playing around with the budget, you need to adjust and change the budget. We just put a budget through. This will be up to a new council when they're formed. It's dealt on a year-by-year basis. By taking those dates out there, you open-end this up for eternity. Someone would have to come in and change it back. So I can't see why muddying the waters, and as Councillor Flannery pointed out earlier on, giving the wind farm donations any options to say, well, they're going to fund it by council. Look, there's a resolution that they made on the 26th of June 2024. I don't believe that will help or enhance anyone. The carnival, as been said, is fully supported by myself to the point where I recommended the money for the traffic to be paid, even though it differed from the policy. We all want to see the carnival happen. We all want to see it survive. It's just a matter how it does it. And council shouldn't put itself in a position where it can be negatively affected financially. And I believe by taking those dates out, that's what could happen. I fully support Councillor Flannery's motion to have their original recommendation upheld. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Any other? Councillor Dodd.
Question. Routine work such as mowing and facility maintenance would be undertaken anyway, regardless of whether it's here or not here
Yes, that's right.
for this event. Yeah.
Well, if there are no more questions or.
Sorry, so just to remind councillors, you will be voting on
On
the
the
amendment, not the motion, the amendment to the motion. What happens with the amendment? Passed, it becomes part of the motion. Fails, we just go back to the motion, just making sure. Thank you.
Right. There's the amendment.
So the amendment is what Councillor Foreman put up.
The amendment is to remove the dates, which would have been enduring.
All right, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Against? Okay, the motion is lost, and we will then go back to the foreshadowed motion, which is returning to the original motion. We are. It's a democratic process in action, isn't it, Councillor Ingram? All right, Councillor Flannery, would you like to?
I'll move the motion. I think we've had plenty of discussion.
Okay, move the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. All right. Thank you, councillors.
Yes.
Now,
Mary,
that takes...
Councillor Flannery get a second?
Yes.
It's Councillor Ingram.
Okay, that takes us back to our original agenda. We have worked through those four, so we then come back to 12.1, which is executive meetings attended, the General Manager's report. Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dodd. Any discussion? If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Councillor Hewson, have you voted? Okay, pardon me. Unanimous. Thank you.
Probably a good idea to check that councillors know what they're voting for before you call for that, Madam Mayor.
I think I did, didn't I say?
Obviously, Councillor Hewson wasn't sure. I'm just pointing out.
Oh, okay. Okay, righto. All right, let's go to 12.2, and this is Councillor Remuneration. Oh, I can't say it. Councillor Remuneration 2024-25. Do I have a mover?
I'd like to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor.
That adopts the recommendation of A and B.
All right, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Flannery. All right. Councillor Ingram.
I just had a question from Councillor Fitzgerald. I moved the recommendation with A and B, the first ones, the first recommendation.
Yep.
You're not confused now? The first one. Yeah, there is. There is.
It's a choice, A or.
Thank you.
So Councillor Ingram has moved the recommendation for A and B, being the first two. Is everybody clear?
Yeah.
All right. Any discussion? Councillor Ingram?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There'll be some feedback about this, but that's just natural. It happens every year. A bit of history in regard to when Hilltops Council was formed in the early days, and it started with Councillor Flannery at the start, I believe, insisting that we contact the Office of Local Government and ask for an upgrade in our council because it had been merged, and still getting paid the pittance that was when we were formerly the Young or Borough Harden Council. The first letter came to council and we knocked it back because it wasn't strong enough. So more correspondence was had, and over the years that it's continued to where we got to the point where our population has pushed us just over the ledge. That puts in the bracket of remuneration that is probably getting close to where it should be. If we are to attract candidates and candidates with some credentials, or candidates who have businesses or young children to put their hand up to stand on council, they need to be sure that there's some finances there and fees there to take care of someone to run their business while they're doing council duties or looking after their children. The thought of anyone saying by going with the other option and saving some money off the bottom of a $6.3 million deficit doesn't seem true. That won't save the deficit. What might save the deficit is by being able to attract new candidates and a number of candidates with the credentials to help guide council through these hard times. I've stated before, councillor fees are not and never have been and never will be any reason that I stood personally for council. I hold it against no other council. But if a councillor decides or thinks that these fees that have been suggested are over the top, don't panic. You can always donate it back to council. So thank you.
Councillor Ingram, anybody else want to speak?
Oh, look, I reiterate those sentiments. I think clearly we need more business people on council, is my view, and it does cost money to exit your business for the time required. And if you want a council that's well run, and there's plenty of people that say there's the two things you're guaranteed about this. One is you're guaranteed that people say council's not well run, no matter what. And the two things are you'll say that it's we've got our snouts in the trough overpaying ourselves money. But I just punched in the calculator quickly. If you're a single mother running a business, you haven't got a hope of running for council on if you wanted to sit on this remuneration, if you had to pay someone to look after even your kids, let alone running a business. So and the reality is you're looking at serious hours each week to get through the workload. So I don't put any travel things in, but for those who do need to pay up, I think they need to be remunerated.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Any other comments before we go to the vote? Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, when I first heard about this, my inclination would have been to say, look, why don't we just take the 3.75% increase? And I would have said that because I didn't come onto council for the money, and I don't think there's any member here who did come onto the council for money. Surprisingly, last Saturday, I'll go back a week and a half, Saturday, a week and a half ago, I was convinced to change my thinking, and I've been thinking about it ever since. I was convinced by an editorial in the Sydney Morning Herald saying that these increases were appropriate and required to get the best candidates we could to run local government. And I thought the arguments were cogent. I support Councillor Ingram's motion, and I will vote in favour of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. If there are no... Councillor Mackie, have you got your hand up?
I did, but really it's to support all the everyone's thinking really behind it. I've always been in support of being paid for what you do, and we're probably still not paid for what we do, but I think, you know, for the role we play, the workload, the time, responsibilities, the change of the role, you know, as we've grown, it just makes sense that to pay us accordingly, but as the other three have said, to actually encourage other people to stand. You know, we can't do that unless there's some sort of remuneration that's going to encourage them to do that. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Mackie. I think we've had comments, unless somebody wants to speak against. If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We'll go to 12.3. You got it done? Financial improvement strategy and...
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor Flannery, Councillor Ingram. Any questions, queries? If not, Councillor Flannery.
Well, look, I don't think I should go through them. I missed the workshop, so I'm probably on the back foot. But regardless of whether I or any other councillor attends the workshop, the important thing is that this and the rest of the business paper is out for the general public to read. And on the spreadsheet pages, I won't go through them line by line, but there's numerous percentage of budgets where we're way over, and I think we need to get more explanation. That I think I circled about. I think I was up to 35, but we're not going to address the budget until we address why we're allocating 24,000, spending 100 in some of these instances.
Through you, Madam Mayor, that's certainly accepted, and the intent of this was the reorganisation of the chart of accounts to make it more meaningful, so that the descriptions were more meaningful, and this was our first brush to do that, to work towards that. And the next stage is exactly as you said, Councillor, to work through the way in which it's been by practice allocated, which we don't believe is indicative of where it should be. Collectively, at the high level, it's correct, but when you go to the detail that we need, we believe there needs to be more work done.
And thank you, Mr. General Manager, because for staff, I think that's one of the very difficult things about this. Just because I'm open on the page, which is page 95, I think under water supplies, the third line down, it says it's young water supplies, and I think it applies throughout. The budget allocation is 348,000. There's been variations with budget reviews. Year-to-date actual 600 and something thousand. And Actually, I've got my lines there, but the one above it, it actually is water operating. The budget allocation is 500. The expenditure is 3,000. So we're over by 700% or something. I don't think it's clear to staff whether it's an allocation issue or an expenditure issue. And I think that's what makes it very difficult. Am I correct?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I could start to answer, but I might pass to the CFO.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Yep. The actual costs are accurate. So this is an extraction straight out of the general ledger. There will be some consolidation. What we've done is we've just pulled all the new format of the reports. The green lines are shown in the report, or the green headings are the service levels that we'll be reporting on. But there will be some consolidation. So what we've done is we've listed them all so you can see what at the moment sits within those mapping of those account codes. Some of these account codes will get consolidated, and the next step then is to look at review the budget. So the budget in total comes back to what's in the QBR and the annual budget, but we'll have to refresh these budget figures. They're historical.
But that wasn't the question. The question was, do staff share my concerns that they don't even actually really know what their budget is? When you look at the ledger, I'll go back another page. I'll go back to page 92 and you might have a look at it. And it's sale yards, operations and maintenance. It's the fourth one down, I think. It's item 100740, I think it is. The writing's pretty small. The budget allocation was $2,436. The expenditure is $16,901. Now, I can only assume that that's actually no one's been aware of what the budget is for it, and the work has just occurred, or there's
no. So some of these budgets are known to the staff or the managers, but not comprehensively. The actual budgets by the levels is accurate, but we now need
correct. But therein lies the problem, which is what I'm saying, that your categories might have an allocation of $1 million, let's say, and there's 30 categories in that, and it gets lost in the washing as to whether you can only spend, or whether there's been an allocation of $2,000 and $16,000 gets spent. But when you've got 30 items and each one gets, as can be the case, overspent by a few thousand here, a few hundred there, and that's when we end up in the budget problems.
So, through you, Madam Mayor, again, so then the next stage is actually refining those budgets by service level for every directorate. So the directors have been through this, and we did this to make sure that we had the correct account codes within the service levels from a reporting point of view. So the next stage is refining what you're suggesting. And so then we'll be producing budgets to go out at the managerial level to through all directors. But the actual costs,
I think the answer was yes.
Yeah, the actual costs as shown an extraction straight out of the general ledger. They reconcile back to the QBR.
So there was discussion. Oh, pardon me. There was discussion of this at the workshop.
Yes, but the point I'm making, Madam Mayor, is for the general public who might go onto the council website and look at this document, they'd be seeing, there's not too many categories are underspent. There's plenty that are overspent. I mean, we can have workshops and it can be explained to us, but your ratepayer who actually pays the money has to understand this. And so, or be explained to them, or we've actually got to hit the money. And I appreciate the staff are working to get more granularity in the operations, but it's fantastic that this is here because it's out on public display, it's in public domain, and now that we've got it here, we can actually drill down and address these issues. But it's important the public see these figures.
So
I agree totally.
So was it really more about chart of accounts than the actual numbers? It was about looking at what accounts are where and how they're going to.
So this is the first extraction of the general ledger by the service level. So we've mapped all the various account codes. If somebody felt account code should belong somewhere else, the directors have been through it. Some of the headings I'm recommending we might change as well. We talked about the workshop with possibly year-to-date budget actual variation, which will make more sense once we review the budgets, and that we might put a comment column as well, so that we'd actually refine some of these columns and produce them. And to answer the question, the intention is to get them out at a monthly report to each of the managers. That will take us some months. And then, of course, to produce this as part of the financial improvement strategy every two bi-monthly.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the next stage of the development. At the same time, I'm dealing with annual financial statements at the moment as well, preparation.
Okay, thank you. If there are,
So maybe
Councillor
what
Dodd.
Councillor Flannery maybe was saying was that that needs to be really clear that this is actually not about the numbers. It's about it's the detail is in there, but it's not. I mean, the numbers are important, but what we're doing is we're moving things around because we're working out which accounts go under what.
That's been done. No, that's been done. All the mapping of all the account codes under each of the green service levels, which are stated in the front. I think of the report, I summarised the service levels, which are consistent with the annual report. There, I think yes, they are on page 85. The actual costs in here are accurate. They come and they reconcile the general ledger, and they're as extracted in the QBR.
So, yep, you're correct.
The budgets need to be refined in terms of reallocation. But in total, the budget is accurate. The total budget is accurate to the QBR, as you've approved.
Okay, righto. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation and for the questions asked. I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to 12.4, General Manager's Leave Cover. Thanks, Councillor Ingram and Councillor Foreman. No discussion? Put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We've dealt with 12.6. Yeah, we've dealt with 12.5, pardon me, and we're up to 12.6. That's what I meant to say. And that's adoption of the plan of management for Reserve 85737 Harden Racecourse. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Flannery and Councillor Foreman. Any questions, queries? If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. 12.7. It's a proposal to close an area of excess road reserve for construction of an RFS station. Can I have someone to move this? Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald and Councillor Piper. Discussion. Councillor Fitzgerald, any questions? No. If nobody has, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll go to 12.8. And that's the cash and investment report. A mover? Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Seconder?
Can I second with a amendment that future our cash investments, noting with a new council due soon, also have a part B which shows the restricted and unrestricted funds.
Note that down.
Yeah.
Councillor Ingram? Okay.
As appears in the current QBR. Yeah,
It's in
it
there,
appears in the QBR. Yeah.
Again, transparency. If you're a general punter and you see we've got $53 million in cash and investments, you think, well, why aren't we supporting the Bororo Touch Football Netball Carnival? But if we have,
And I can advise, I think General Manager will make, I can advise we're currently preparing that as well on a monthly basis. Yeah.
So, Councillor Ingram, we received a note, the statements, and that council be provided with the restricted and unrestricted funds.
Yep.
Balances. Balances, there we go. Yep. Yep. I'd like to know that too.
You already have it? All right, I'll put it start those in favour. Maggie? Maggie. You in favour?
I can't hear.
Yes, now you can. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Councillor Mackie, you in favour? Thank you. Okay, motion carried. All right, let's go to 12.9. Outstanding rates and charges and sundry debtors report. Councillor Dodd and Councillor Flannery. Councillor Dodd, do you want to
I
make a
have, I note that we have actually made a significant improvement in what is outstanding. Well done. I have a question. Are payment arrangements considered outstanding still until they're actually paid?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
If I can just make, oh, sorry. Sorry.
Councillor Piper.
I see here in the rates, we're still 31% 1 year or more outstanding.
Sorry, which council?
On page 174.
You're talking water charges now.
No, rates.
The first table,
It's 71.29.
overdue
174. Rates that are overdue for 1 year, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Oh, yeah.
It's 31% of what we're owed. How are we going? Obviously.
Well, we are going full steam ahead. We are issuing, people are appearing in the local court. We're just continuing to pursue these debts, and we're dealing with the oldest ones first. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, with the sale of land, we have 22 properties up, and all of a sudden we got 6 to auction because all the rest bar 2 got settled before the auction. So that possibly highlights people just leaving it right to the deadline. But all I can say is we're continuing to follow these debts up. I'm trying to get that over 4 months down, to be honest. I'll just want to raise one issue which I raised with the sundry debt of the revenue unit today. I'm proposing, we did discuss this before, a lot of the small water bills, and I can't wait 5 years thinking somebody's not going to pay their ordinary rates. People are not paying a lot of their water bills. They end up issuing 2 reminder letters plus a letter of demand and still no payment. So if council's happy, we're proposing to put water restrictions on.
If that doesn't work, cut it off.
Well, it's annoying. $50, $100. You spend $50. What am I supposed to do then? And then if the general rates, they make payment within 5 years, and it just sits there until it changes hands. So it is a real issue actually with the water rates. It's quite annoying actually for me.
Can I ask a question on how a water restriction would work?
They limit the flow.
That's water.
Yeah, that's cutting it off. But what's a water restriction? What's the difference between?
And might I say, and they'll get charged by the plumbers putting it on and taking it off. Should they then?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it stops when you turn the tap on. You can't turn it on full. You turn it on full, it's only going to come out at a very, very slow rate, and it's an inconvenience.
If you remove the not yet due figure from last month to this month, about 40, yes, it's come down, but it's still sitting at around $1 million. Yeah, and so it is a real issue.
Because that was one of my other questions I've got marked here. It's 38% in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah. No, we follow them up as well. It's quite and the work that is involved in getting also prepared, sending out reminders, going to the debt collector, and then getting to the stage. Some of these debts are just not big enough to sue, to start asking for a statement of claim in court, or they're just not of that value.
So do we need to add? Are you just telling us that you're going to do that, or do we need to decide as a council that you need to do that?
I thought it was agreed to.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we don't need a resolution of council.
I think it was
an affirmation that we utilise all avenues open to us. From the sentiment, I will ensure that occurs, but it's within my delegation to implement that as a practice. So thank you for your support for that, and we'll move forward.
Right, thank you, councillors. I will put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. All right. We'll go to 12.10, information systems status, and the recommendation is to receive and note the report. A mover?
I'll move with the question.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. And a seconder? Councillor Foreman, sorry, I'll look over this side next time. Councillor Foreman. Okay, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, I think it's quite a comprehensive report, given my lack of technology or modern technology skills. But can I refer you to item 9.4? And it says there, change system parameters to at any small wallet balance $2 and under. So what you're saying is that if it's an account that's under $2, it would just be rolled on to next month's.
Yeah. Yeah.
When would that start to come into place?
That's in place right now.
In place right now?
Yeah, we're doing that with everything that's completed there and I've mentioned in there's more work to be done on the revenue. We're doing things around revenue reconciliations at year end. Have you got a problem with your account, councillor?
I have an account here, which I've just received, and the Director of Infrastructure might pay attention to this one. It's for 78 cents.
Right.
I believe that's when I incurred the water, because I haven't turned the water on for quite a while. I think that's when the one water meter was changed to the next water meter, and they didn't leave it in the old position. But I'll still pay the 78 cents.
I'll check. I will double check that the parameters in the system are working. I'll make sure. We are about to do an end of year review on revenue over the next couple of months.
I'm more than happy to leave that in your hands. And
that's okay. Thank you for that.
Councillor Fitzgerald, I will give you my water bill. We haven't used any, and we've got $190 water bill.
I've already refused swapping water bill.
Okay, thanks, councillors. You can take that, to the counter and argue the case there.
Question through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Flanagan.
I keep asking it, but the enterprise asset management module and point B always has been for some months now, I think 9. Strategy is to visit one of the councils and to develop a project plan. Are we going to do it? Are we going to take it off, or what's happening?
It is my intention. That's a council-wide. All this is finance related. That's a council-wide system. I do want to get the annual financial statements out of the road as we're moving along, and so I've suggested around October that we look at actually putting the project plan together. I haven't obtained a quote off Tech One of what they're to bring back to council, what their cost would be, and what resources we would need internally. It is a massive exercise, having seen it demonstrated by about 4 other councils are putting it in place. Untitled are doing it. It's not appropriate to go. I mean, we haven't done that from about May. Well, we're all full on year end, but we will be going over there because they're about to turn it on live in some months' time. So that'll be a very good opportunity because we've been used. The revenue managers actually helped us with a lot of this revenue stuff free of charge, actually, of her own volition. So
perhaps perhaps it might best be taken off to take it off the list, or perhaps just organise a Zoom or Teams meeting and look at it. It just strikes me again that if you're going to do something, do it. If you're not, take it off the list. But the last time when it was first proposed, it was proposed for November 2023, and we're up to July 2024. Well, I think we've got to be realistic. And I've heard, we've got QBRs, we've got all these financial projects to carry on with, and I think I asked, given the amount of work in front of you, was it realistic? And you said yes, definitely. That was back in April. I think we've got to be. I think it is one of the asset management, in its truest sense of definition, is one of our key issues. But I think we've either got to deal with it, do a Zoom meeting, or take it off the list.
Okay, thank you.
I hear your comments. I'll take them on board.
All right. If there are no more comments, questions, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll turn to 12:11. And after this, I'm giving fair warning. After this one, I'm going to request we have a 10-minute break. We have been sitting for 2.5 hours. And
I'll give you fair warning that I'll vote against it.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram. All right, let's go to 12:11. We right? Okay. Development application stats for May 2024. Thank you, Councillor Sundry. Thank you, Councillor Foreman. Any questions, queries?
I just
Councillor Ingram.
Flicking through, and I'm just to clarify something that was earlier on. I didn't miss a DA for Millvale Road, did I? A director?
Mr. Through you, Madam Mayor, Mr. DA.
The representatives for Apollo indicated from the lecture that there was a DA in place.
So through you, Madam Mayor, a DA has been lodged, but it's outside of this time frame, which is to the end of May. So it was lodged this month.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the clarification, Apollo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. And now I'll put the motion that we have a 10-minute break. We have been here for 2.5 hours. For our brains and everything else, it is good to have thank you, Councillor Piper. It is good to have a break. If you don't give the break, then I will be asking Deputy.
I'd rather finish early so I can go and watch the football.
Because I have to eat. Okay. Do we have a seconder? Thank you. All right. Those in favour?
Patrick.
4, 5. Okay. 5.
Five.
All right.
It's passed.
It's passed. We have a 10-minute break, everybody. There are sandwiches over there, and we will work very quickly through the second part. Okay. We're up to 12. Hold on.
Live? Yep. Yes, we are.
12:13. This is a housekeeping amendment to the Hilltops local LEP. Thanks, Councillor Flannery. Second, Councillor Piper. Any queries, questions? If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour?
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We're up to page 381 now, or 380, actually.
380.
And it's at 12:14, updated Galong Mine Voluntary Planning Agreement. Thank you, Councillor Flannery, once again. So many hands up, can't choose. Councillor Piper, seconded. Okay, do we have any queries, questions? If not, to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We move to 12:16, I think. That's right, because we've dealt with, and that's large 12:16 large lot residential subdivision on 1170 Kingsvale Road, and the recommendation is there. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald, and a seconder. Yep.
Yeah, we missed. Yeah, we made a mistake. Yeah, one page.
So it's on 453. 453, you right?
And I'll always
Okay.
admit it.
Yeah, it was, no. Okay, do I have a mover for this? Did we have a mover? Oh, you did, pardon me, Councillor, and a seconder, Councillor Ingram. All right, any queries, questions, Councillor Fitzgerald? If not, anybody else? No, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. We'll go to 12:17, which is on 517, page 517. Storage shed at 521 Spring Creek Road, Young. And the recommendation is there to grant consent. Those in favour? Oh, moving, pardon, I meant that first. Councillor Hewson, are you happy to move? Okay, and a seconder? Councillor Mackie, okay. Any queries, questions? If not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. My goodness, football should be on everywhere. Let's go to 12:18 on page 532. Thank you. That was Councillor Fitzgerald, was it? Okay, and a seconder, Councillor Dodd. Any queries, questions? If not, I'll put it to everybody. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll move to 12:20, and this is the Regional Leakage Reduction Program. And the recommendation is there. Do I have a mover? It's on page 560. Thank you, Councillor Piper. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Any questions? Councillor Piper, do you want to make a comment or anything since you moved it?
No, I just think it's a natural thing to do, cuts out a lot of paperwork.
Okay, thank you. Seconder?
That was, Councillor.
Not as, yes. Fitzgerald, do you want to? No? All right. If there's no discussion comment, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. I think it will be of great benefit. Let's go to 1221 on page 578, and that's the local roads resealing and resheeting program for 2024-25. I need a mover. Thank you, Councillor Foreman, and a seconder, Councillor Hewson. Councillor Foreman, do you want to make any comment before Councillor Flannery? Is that right?
Thank you,
Councillor-
Madam Mayor.
You're right. Okay.
Look, just questions on, I think it does note that it's come from the ARB road assessment report. There's roads here, and I clearly haven't driven down them, but it seems Combi Road, $28,000. I'm talking about page 581, Monteagle Stock Route West, $20,000 for gravel resheeting. They seem to be significant quantities given the. We put traffic counters on some of the roads. So there seems to be large sums of money for gravel resheeting for some less significant roads relative to others that I would have thought should be on the list or are not even on the list.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we'll have to take the question about counters on notice. I'll note that the ARB condition assessment data isn't so relevant for gravel resheeting, given that gravel roads conditions can change over a much shorter timescale than sealed roads. The ARB assessment is definitely very relevant to the sealed road program.
Thank you, Councillor.
To press further on that, if the ARB data is not necessarily, is it relevant at all to the gravel resheeting program, or is it based on customer complaints, or is it based on a log of roads that you've had in there and are working your way around? I mean, I know, and it is the forthcoming budget, but Campbellfields Road, for example, has an allocation of 16,000 for gravel resheeting for an 800-metre section, and we've just done a full maintenance grade on that road. What are the time frame? And it certainly does need gravelling in the areas where it's bad, because they continue to cost us money year in, year out. What is the basis of the gravel resheeting program if it's not ARB data?
Yeah, so through you, Madam Mayor, yes, the ARB data is relevant, but not as relevant for the gravel resheeting program. It is more based on our asset inspector reports, inspections by our engineers, and by customer complaints.
And what of the allocation, for example, if we were to take McMahon's Reef Road, $20,000 for 1,000 metres, what percentage of that is gravel? What percentage of it is gravel including cartage of the gravel, and what percentage is actually then the work to lay it, roll it, and so on?
I'll have to come back to council on that to give a breakdown.
Can we get that for the next meeting, please? Breakdown on how the figures are calculated and what we're getting out of this capital works budget.
Yes, we can do that.
While we're at it, do we have the gravel quantities won already for next 3 months, 6 months?
We do have a significant quantity of gravel already won. However, I will have to come back to you as to the duration that we could operate on the current quantity.
That'd be good, because now's our time to do most of the gravel resheeting program.
Okay, thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Harper.
As usual, I come from Burra, so I'm looking at Burra again. the Borough Urban Reseal Program for Long Street, which happens to be my street. 700 metres.
So would you like to declare a non-pecuniary conflict of interest?
700 metres. Which 700 metres is it?
The 700 metres not in front of your house.
Asking for
I'll have to come back to you on that.
Okay.
We'll look forward to it. Well, councillor Piper will anyway, won't you? Okay. No more queries, questions? Thank you, Director. I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, it's moving on to 1222 Capital Works Program. And the recommendation is there to receive and note the report. A mover? Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald, and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Fitzgerald, do you have query question? Councillor Ingram?
Well, look, I don't know if it's pertinent to this report or not, or if I'm in the right spot. I will have to give me a bit of a leeway tonight. My question is in relation to Thornhill Street and where we're up to with the tenderer. Remember, we were going to go back and negotiate with tenders on Thornhill Street. It needs to be enclosed, that's fine, but I didn't know where it was up to. That's what I'm after.
So through you, Madam Mayor, we are currently in negotiations with that tenderer, focusing on scoping the project to fit the available budget.
Scoping the job to fit the budget. I don't know whether I like the way that's put. I would like to think that the budget would cover the job that needs to be done. As long as we don't cut our cloth too short. I don't know. Anyway, but if we can be kept updated with that, the reason I ask this and in the room know, it's slipped through 2 or 3 times already, and I won't let it slip through again. Thank you.
Yes, we'll provide an update to council.
Thank you.
Right, thank you, Councillor Ingram.
Madam Mayor, and I've asked this, I think, at least at the April council meeting, and I think May, Scenic Road. I asked, I think at the time the works had been, the expenditure wasn't up to 95 or 96%. It was a lesser amount, and but I had observed that there had been a seal put down in the location of the Blaney railway line heading, I guess it'd be north for some kilometres, but there were areas further to the boundary of the Shire of Scenic Road that needed significant work. And I asked, was the road with the potholes and the gravel part of Scenic Road to come under, I think it was the SCC funding that was allocated to Scenic Road previous year's budget, and I was told they'd be taken on notice. So probably had my question answered because most of the money is now expended, but is the the seal that was put down immediately north of the railway line, the extent of the funding that was allocated for Scenic Road?
Yes, that's correct. That was the extent of funding.
I noticed, I think Scenic Road was in one of the allocations, so is work that, is there any allocation for the gravel portion of Scenic Road in the forthcoming budget? Given that we're only ever told which roads are getting allocations, not the extent generally.
Yes, so there is, if you refer back to the previous report, there is a proposed allocation for gravel resheeting on Scenic Road.
And that'll be up near Shays Road, if you know where Shays Road is.
I can confirm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ingram, is your light on? Or that's all right. Councillor Foreman. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to refresh my memory on a couple of things. This the young stormwater upgrade the stormwater construction that the investigation's ongoing, we're 60% done. What is that the IGA precinct? Is that section?
That's the trunk main upgrade.
Down.
Yes, so it's designed to address that, not the detention basins.
Okay, so the stormwater issue that runs through there, that's that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're 60% through. When do we think that how much longer do you think that will take to be finalised?
I might ask the manager of projects and contracts to answer that question.
Awesome.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we are bringing a report on that project to the next council meeting. And the rough date is October. We should have the concept design, detailed design done, all the investigations complete. So we should know, and the costing complete as well for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's great news. The owner of IGA will be really pleased.
Yeah. After how many years?
Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
Heathfield Road is noted as having gravel resheeting of a 1,000 metres, $20,000 allocation. I don't recall any gravel being carted there. There was certainly significant work done because there was an incident where an adjoining landholder did work to the road verge without authority, and then we voted to the change of the council policy. So I've got two questions. One is for the director. Has there been any invoicing to the relevant owner for the person who did damage to Heathfield Lane? And it probably can't have to be taken on notice, but can it be confirmed that there was actually gravel resheeting on Heathfield Road? I have no recollection of gravel being carted in as opposed to maintenance grading.
I will have to take that on notice, and also for the whether the landowner was invoiced.
Okay, thank you, Director. There are no more questions. I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to 1223. That's the works report. Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. And a seconder. I'm looking around the room. Councillor Dodd, your hand was up first. Councillor Dodd. Councillor Fitzgerald, have you queries, questions?
I do have one question.
Thank you. I do have one question on the front page of the report. Works completed in Untitled Roads, maintenance grading. It says Boundary Road, 14 kilometres completed. Is that the 14 kilometres from Back Creek Road through to the highway, Olympic Highway? Because my understanding of Boundary Road, it's about 15.5 kilometres. I'm happy to take notice.
Yes, I'll have to take that on notice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I raised at the last council meeting that there was a bad pothole on the east, I think it's the northern entrance to McKean's Bridge, and there was certainly some mix or asphalt put in there, but it's one that needs more significant work. There will be an accident there one day because it's the immediate approach to the bridge, and everyone who uses the road that knows it veers to the right. And I've seen a couple of near misses, but it needs more than just a couple of shovelfuls of asphalt that's been put in there. It either needs to be put on the budget for an allocation of funding to fix it, or come back with but it's more than just a few shovelfuls of pothole mix required.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll look into that.
Thank you. If there are no more queries, questions, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. We are up to 1224. Correspondence for information. Thank you, Councillor. Seconder. Wait, 621. Okay, thank you, councillor Foreman. This is under correspondence for information. Media Relations and Office of Local Government Services. No? All right, if not, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Let's turn to 1226, 1225. Oh, my goodness, I'm racing too quickly. 1225, Local Traffic Advisory Committee meeting.
Move with some explanation.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald. Okay, thank you, Councillor Ingram. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, the report's in front of you. There's a couple of things which I'd like to draw to council's attention. If you give me a few moments as we find it through. Firstly, under the the Cherry Festival, looking at closing Burrawa Street for an evening of shopping and live music, but that's predicated on the Hanlon Bridge, which was built in 1940. There needs to be a structural inspection of it to see it can handle the large trucks that could be diverted that way. If it can't, then we'll have to go back to the committee and say we might have to do something different in terms of the Burrawa Street evening shopping on the Friday night. That's the first thing, which I think is a reasonably important thing. Second thing is there was a request from council, and I've passed it to Transport for New South Wales. They're going to undertake a speed limit assessment of Millvale Road from the 50 to 100 limit up to Browns Lane, and we should get that back in September. And the third thing is just a note that the staff to look at providing disabled parking facilities in the street outside the South Medical Centre, because there isn't any. There is a disabled parking inside the centre, but I don't think it's adequate. So they're going to investigate that to see whether that's appropriate. And the last bit is, if anybody knows anybody from the Junior Rugby League, the police have said that the Keith Cullen Oval, that Ridge Street, which runs alongside it, it's no parking, but people can't see the signs because they're on the telegraph poles. Staff are going to try and move the signs closer because the police said if we see them, we will book them. And it just makes, especially visitors to town, makes an unpleasant thing. So if people know anybody in the Junior Rugby League, pass that message on would be good. Thank you very much.
Just another one for
Councillor Ingram first.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Thank you. It was on page 640 that I was going to refer to in the speed limit on Millvale Road. Yep. So that's following up on the request. And thank you from seeking to have a third zone included, from 100 to 80 k's in there. Council seek Transport for New South Wales assistance to undertake a speed limit assessment review. A lot of big words. In a word, tell me what that entails.
Well, Transport for New South Wales will go and inspect it. They'll send inspectors there. They'll write a report, the traffic people, and they'll bring it back to the September Traffic Committee meeting with their recommendations, which I'll convey to you as soon as I've got them.
That's as I feared. I'd like to have some council representation when Transport for New South Wales. I know they rule the roost, but there needs to be some representation from the community that it affects. And a couple of the points that I'd point out to Transport for New South Wales, which they used last time, and I had a difficult time with them. They tried to tell me that they're reducing areas of 3 zones into towns. They just went from 100 to 1 zone. And they went up and down on that. Not very long ago, Councillor Harden, didn't they put a 80-kilometre zone after 100-kilometre zone to a 50-kilometre zone to Harden? They contradict every reason they used last time to say no to my request for this to happen. Again, I will use the section on the Harden down past the cemetery to town where they reduced it to 80. Count the driveways. Get Transport for New South Wales to count the driveways out here. Have a look. I'll go back to Harden. Straight stretch of road, double lanes. We go out here. You've got a job to do 100 k's on that section of road coming to town, especially meet someone coming near the bridge there. I just want to make sure that Transport for New South Wales don't send someone over with a Lonnie Corn. Flying above the top, take a couple of photos and come back and write a report and say no, because I won't accept that. So I'm sure, councillor, on that committee, we'll make sure that we keep a close eye on just how that process is undertaken.
I'll take your comments on board and have contact with Transport for New South Wales in the next week or so to see where they're up to, what we're doing.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, pardon me.
Just a question of Councillor Fitzgerald. Who is responsible, the area that you were talking about opposite the football ground, who is responsible for the putting up of the signs on the poles?
I believe that staff had been, and I think they were trying to save money in the far distance well before we came to council.
So council is responsible.
Council is now, the council staff have been directed to put some more signs on poles closer to the
well, I was there a couple of weeks ago for a bowling competition, and the signs are there, but they're the wrong way. If that's a pole, the sign should be here. When you come into park, they're there. They're driving parallel to the road. You can't see them.
Okay.
You walk past them.
I'm sure the Director of Infrastructure will pass that on to the appropriate.
It's my understanding that that's standard practice, that they face the road for parking restriction.
That's what Stan says. They face the road.
Yes, that's right.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question, councillor. I was actually told with those signs that they were actually how they're supposed to be, that there was nothing wrong with them and that's how they were staying. And that was only recently, the ones at the football oval, the rugby league.
The agreement from the meeting that I was present was that staff would go and look at putting up a couple more poles to make it really clear so that the police, there'd be no excuse for sort of saying, hey, I've parked here, but I didn't see the signs. They're going to make it as clear as possible, is my understanding. But I'll chase that up with staff if I need to.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Could you, through you, Madam Mayor, could you explain under Patrick Fitzgerald, page 641, Burley Griffin Way, 80 kilometre speed limit, and the correspondence received from Transport New South Wales in relation to the implementation for action for information, no further action. Could you explain that, please?
Yeah, the committee received a detailed letter from Transport for New South Wales, which I can get you a copy of, which explained their reasoning for why they've done it in quite reasonable detail. I thought it was I haven't got it with me. Oh, yes, I do. I can't print off that machine, but I can give you a look at it. I can get you a copy.
It was a motion of council that we object strongly, and we asked for it to be reinstated. So I think it's not sufficient for it to come back as some sort of commentary in the minutes. I mean, if you're the delegate on a council committee, you're to act in the interests of the motion.
To answer that question, I did say that the council had voted to change the things. The Transport for New South Wales took that on board. I did contact them, and the result was the explanation of why they had done it and why they weren't going to change it.
So
through Madam Mayor, I did circulate a correspondence. I'm not sure if it's the same correspondence, but I received a correspondence which I did circulate.
I understand that, but it was a motion of council. It should come back in the business paper. And from me, it just reads: if you're Madam Public, Mr. Public, and you've listened to, and you're a ratepayer of Harden, and you've got problems with an 80k sign that now goes over to Mondrel Hill, takes in both overtaking lanes, you're up for entrapment, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many residents of Harden. They want to know the explanation for it, not in some council newsletter on this document. They want to know on public record why.
Okay, I'll ensure that letter is made public in the most appropriate way as soon as possible.
Next business paper, please.
All right, thank you. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, councillor.
Madam Mayor, I'm on page 643, the recommended changes to the speed zones on Rye Park Road. What is the likely outcome? I've read it a few times. So are we likely to have the 100, or is it going to be put back to 80? or could correspondence be explained to me? Right.
My understanding is that it's going to go to 80. That's my reading of it. I could be wrong on that one. And it was from Ian Rice, the Development Assessment Engineer. So,
but the assessment of council is that 80 is a comfortable speed zone. I mean, and is that's how I read it?
The direction is that Transport for New South Wales sets the speed zones. It's not our decision in any way.
That's my problem with the last point. It's a problem with Councillor Ingram's point.
Hmm?
I mean, our staff, who are the ones that don't live in Golden or Canberra, wherever these people live, drive the roads. The residents drive the roads. The residents are the ones that cop the fine. Excuse me, my mic's off. Council staff clearly believe 100 kilometres an hour is an acceptable speed limit for the road, unless I'm misreading it. So what's the likely outcome?
If I may,
Yes.
council staff's assessment, and I think supported by Transport, was that some sections of the road were appropriate for 100 kilometre an hour speed zone. However, Transport's position is that it should be one speed zone. So the likely outcome is that the whole length of the road becomes 80 kilometres an hour.
And that I'm correct in saying that Transport for New South Wales has the last say.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and then we have to follow. We can advocate for what we want, and we can whinge about, if you like, for a better word, about the decision, but it is their decision in the end.
Perhaps we need two things. Perhaps we need a Transport for New South Wales representative to come to a council, to be invited to a council meeting to explain some of their methodology or lack thereof it. And perhaps we need a motion to the next LGA forum.
All right, thank you. Points to consider. I'd just like to say too, thank you to Councillor Fitzgerald for the work that you do on the Transport committees and for the reports that you give back to us. And I think that's appreciated by everybody. So thank you. All right, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Oh, pardon me. Those in favour? Those against? Thank you. Okay, let's go on. The next one is committee reports requiring no action. Thank you, Councillor Foreman, and seconder. Councillor Ingram. All right. If there's no discussion or that, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Right, the next one is 1227.
So moved.
Action summary report. Thank you, Councillor Flannery, and a second by Councillor Hewson. Councillor Flannery, with your question.
Look, my frustration is reading this TBA constantly down the list. So I could ask just about every TBA. I won't be rude. I'll just ask about the hydrotherapy pool, and my comment is when. Just when. Can someone answer when?
I'll pass through, Madam Mayor. I'll pass through our Director of Corporate and Community. She received some positive information just yesterday from our efforts Director.
Thanks, Anthony. Through you, Madam Mayor. I have updated council before that we were working with some community members and interested local parties to look at how we might be able to get the hydrotherapy pool repaired and back to an operating state for the community. And as Anthony said just last night, I did receive a proposal and some information about that. So I'll be preparing a briefing for 2 weeks' time, and we'll come back to the July council meeting. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So works are underway. Good.
Another question, Madam Mayor, unless someone else has. Integrated water cycle management. I think this has been on the agenda for 7 years. So when are we going to get a report on the revised strategy to be provided to Public Works. Just a TBA, it says to come to a future council meeting. Will that happen this term of office or not likely?
I'll, through Madam Mayor, I'll pass it to the
2028
Director. We are somewhat reliant upon Public Works, but the department.
So through you, Madam Mayor, the Public Works has provided a revised copy of the IWCM, and we're currently reviewing that. So hopeful to get it to council in this term.
Thank you. Village water supplies, and in particular, Brimbury Water Supply. Is there any update on that?
Yes, so we've been working with the Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water on our options in that space, and we'll be providing a report to council on the way forward.
So we've got, I think, 2 council meetings left. Does that mean his term of council? Given
yes,
I'm asking these questions because we're going to start there's a number of councillors. Greg Armstrong died. The number of councillors not standing. We're going to start this whole process again.
Yes, so we can provide a report to this council.
Okay, thank you. If there are no more questions, I'll put it to the floor. Those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Which brings us to closed. Do I have a mover? Who was first? Councillor Flannery, I think was, and then followed by Councillor Ingram to move into closed. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. We'll just wait a minute. All right. I'll ask the General Manager.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Council in confidential resolved at 15.2 24/175 smart water meter business case. That Council A receive and note the report and adopt option C as presented within the report. Council resolved at report 15.3-24/176 RFQ 37 supply and disposal of 1 street sweeper truck. Council resolved that a council note and endorse the purchase of 1 street sweeper truck and the trade value of 1 street sweeper truck. B, accept the tender of the successful supplier for the delivery of 1 Butcher V65 ton Isuzu street sweeper truck. C, accept the tender of the supplier for the trade of council asset number 10000098 2017 Butcher VT651 Hino street sweeper truck. And D, delegate to the General Manager the authority to execute all necessary documentation with accepting this tender. And finally, 15.4-24/177 RFT 27 supply and disposal of 1 gravel truck. Council resolved that A, Council noted and endorsed the purchase of 1 gravel truck and the trade value of 1 gravel truck. B, accept the tender for the supplier for the delivery of 1 Mack Anthem 6x4 rigid MP8 gravel truck. And C, accept the tender for the supplier for the delivery of 1 Hino SS2848 gravel truck. D, accept the tender of the auctioneer for the trade of council asset number 10000391 2011 Isuzu CXY Giga gravel truck. And E, delegate to the General Manager the authority to execute all necessary documentation associated with accepting this tender. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, General Manager. I'll close the meeting at 8:11 p.m. and as usual, thank all the councillors and the staff for your contribution this evening.